Then I went to Douluo. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 651 Hogwarts Treatment Plan Discussion Conference. This is Dragon Lord. How can you have the power of a Dragon Lord? Are you looking at the pair of red and blue dragon wings behind Dai Yun's? Yao Yao's voice was horrified. But Dai Yun's didn't have time to care about her now, and had already landed beside Hou Hao, who was unconscious on the ground. The white acacia heartbroken red with a few strands of blood red was tightly attached to his cheek, and it was worthy of the title of the King of Flowers, sad and beautiful. But no matter how beautiful the flowers are, people can't ignore the hideous festering on Hou Hao's hands and lips. It was all caused by the extremely hot fire poison of the blazing Yanquan. Fortunately, he still had a lot of extreme ice heaven and earth energy in his body to protect his heart, otherwise he would die immediately when he put his hand into the blazing Yanquan. Not to mention that he drank a sip directly. In short, his life is not lost for the time being, but he can't hold on for long, and he must be treated immediately. Dai Yun's half knelt beside Hou Hao and raised his hand to press on him. A faint transparent light flashed by, and Hou Hao's chest, which was still slightly rising and falling, suddenly stopped moving. Wang Qiwa ran over at this time. What's going on? Why did he drink the blazing Yang Spring? Dai Yun's face was very ugly, and there was anger in the depths of his eyes. He said in a deep voice, someone wants him to drink it. But the most important thing now is to find a way to save him. The power of the ultimate fire and the ultimate ice conflict with each other in his body. If it is not resolved quickly, he will definitely die. But I can't do anything, I can only freeze his time first. Unless he can make Hou Hao's time flow back to before he drank the blazing Yang Spring. But Dai Yun's can't do this yet. He can go back to his own time, but for others, he can only make time pause in the simplest way. King Gaia can do it, and he contacted the other party through the contract as soon as possible. It's just very unfortunate that King Gaia is being entangled by the people of the Holy Spirit Church and can't get away for the time being. He didn't dare to let King Gaia completely ignore everything else and immediately respond to the call of the contract to come to his side to save people. Because King Gaia now represents the Holy Son of the Holy Spirit Church, if he suddenly disappears under the eyes of the Holy Spirit Church, it will inevitably reach Hongli Wu's ears. If Dai Yun's had just joined the Holy Spirit Church, it would not be a big deal. But now it is different. Most of the lower-level members of the Holy Spirit Church, those Holy Spirit disciples whose cultivation is far inferior to the middle and high-level ones, our innocent soul masters that he has developed in the past few years and have not been brainwashed by the Holy Spirit Church. There are also Mazaya Ateo and Tang Liu who are still in the Holy Spirit Church. Once Dai Yun's, who represents the identity of the Holy Spirit Church's Holy Son, disappears, Hongli Wu may follow up and find all the people under his command. So many lives, whether they are killed by the furious Hongli Wu, or all of them are brainwashed into evil soul masters again. Even if the probability of this happening is very small, Dai Yun's dare not gamble. He can only let King Gaia get rid of the people of the Holy Spirit Church as soon as possible, and then rush to his side quickly. Since Hou Hao's time is frozen, the situation is not critical for the time being. Before his soul power is exhausted, there is still plenty of time to think about other treatment methods. Dai Yun's called out, Di Shuang, Di Yan. 2 rays of light shot out from the red and blue dragon wings behind him, condensing into 2 children's figures on the side. What's the matter? Di Shuang said coldly. Di Yan looked at Hou Hao lying on the ground, tilted his head and said, Huh? Why does this person look so strange? Dai Yun's looked at Di Shuang's little face and asked, Is it possible that the God Realm is watching here? Although when he summoned Di Shuang and Di Yan, he no longer cared whether there were still people in the God Realm watching. How is it possible? Since the Lord sent us back to the yin-yang eye of ice and fire, he borrowed our power to set up a formation and had already hidden the real yin-yang eye of ice and fire. The gods of the God Realm alone can't see through the illusion of falsehood covering the truth. Di Shuang curled his lips and said. After hearing her words, Dai Yun's felt even worse, especially when she said the word Lord. He stood up and turned to look at Li Hozing Jiaoshu, who was standing next to him and didn't dare to make a sound. Can you draw out the extreme fire toxin in his body? Li Hozing Jiaoshu leaned over quietly and said cautiously, Sorry, I'm afraid I can't do it. Although my power comes from the same source as Chir Yanquan, he has the extreme ice himself. Not only can my power not help him, it may also aggravate the extreme fire toxin in his body. Naive. The condition in his body now cannot be solved by simply drawing out the extreme fire toxin. Let alone this small plant. Even if Dian and I take action together, we can't do it. Di Shuang knew what Dai Yun's wanted to do and rejected him mercilessly. Dai Yun's looked at her coldly. Is it really impossible, or someone ordered you not to do it? Di Shuang frowned. Human, you can doubt me, but you can't doubt my knowledge after living for so long. The conflict between the ultimate ice and the ultimate fire is not so easy to resolve. The entrance to the blazing Yanquan not only conflicts with his own ultimate ice, but is also a possible inducement for the ultimate ice to turn from bad to good. If he succeeds in forcibly pulling out the ultimate fire poison, his life can be saved. Once he fails, the ultimate ice will spontaneously turn into the ultimate fire, and he will be dead. The young man did not express his opinion immediately, but suddenly said, "Don't hide, the three of you, come out." Is what she said true? Di Shuang and Dian looked at him in confusion. A flash of light appeared, and three more figures appeared here, 2 women and 1 man. They looked one green, 1 white and 1 gold. They were Ho Yu Hao's 3 souls, the 2 ice and snow emperors and a Xianmeng ice silkworm. Snow Queen looked at Dai Yun's. You really know about our existence, Dai Yun's. There is no grudge between us. Now everything is important to save Ho Yu Hao. So, is what she said true? Di Shuang snorted softly. Snow Queen nodded. The Dragon King is right. Yu Hao's current condition is indeed not suitable for using any power related to the ultimate ice and ultimate fire to treat him. It is better to have a third party intervene to calm the conflict between ice and fire. Dai Yun's looked at Li Houzing Jia Oshu again. With the addition of the star anise mysterious ice grass, the ice and fire alchemy body will not work. Di Yan said, no. Although the medicinal properties of Li Houzing Jia Oshu and the star anise mysterious ice grass will become mild and can be taken after the conflict between them, it is still the same. Any intervention of the power of the ultimate ice and the ultimate fire may cause a more intense conflict. Li Houzing Jia Oshu was terrified. What kind of devils are these? Why did they start discussing eating her and Beijiao when they disagreed? Her predecessor has been eaten before, and it must not happen again. So she quickly said, maybe we can feed him some fiery glue first, so that his body can gain some fire resistance. Chapter 652, Another Heartbroken Red Flower. As long as they don't set their sights on her body, even if Dai Yun's and the others don't want to use the fiery glue that Zhu Di had taken from her before, she would hold it in and let out some more. Without waiting for Dai Yun's to speak, Di Shuang took the lead in coldly retorting, didn't you hear what I said? Any power related to the ultimate ice and ultimate fire is not allowed, no matter how mild it is. Li Houzing Jia shrank back timidly. Oh, the Dragon Lord is so fierce, but no matter what, she and Beijiao have escaped a disaster. Then what should we do? Xianmeng Binkan asked anxiously. Dai Yun's pondered, if I devour all the ultimate fire energy in his body, can I get him out of danger? This was the most likely way he could think of after the traction and ice and fire alchemy body were rejected one after another. Dian shook his head. No matter what the devouring method is, it is essentially the same as drawing out the power of the ultimate fire. What he needs now is to calm the conflict of opposite energies, rather than rashly breaking the balance between the two. Dai Yun's clenched his fists. Is it only anyway? His time is frozen by you now, and his life is not on danger for the time being. Why not take him to find the master? The master can easily solve this small problem, Di Shuang said. The 3 souls of the Snow Emperor, who were unaware of the situation, thought that the master she was talking about was the one hiding in the starred out Great Forest. If it is her, of course it can be done. But I'm sorry, we can't let Yu Hao appear in front of the fierce beasts in the starred out Great Forest for the time being. The Snow Emperor refused. Ho Yu Hao is the foundation of their creation of gods, and the one in the starred out Great Forest is an enemy of gods. Dai Yun's and Di Shuang looked at her at the same time and knew who she was referring to, but there was no need to explain that they were not talking about the same person at all. Dai Yun sneered, looking for him? He took great pains to get Ho Yu Hao to drink the blazing Yang Spring, and then rescued him? Doesn't he find it troublesome? He looked at Ho Yu Hao, who was frozen in time on the ground, as quiet as a corpse, and his eyes darkened. Sorry, I don't want to meet him for the time being. Is that so? Di Shuang understood, nodded, and called Di Yan, but I believe that the master will not cheat without purpose. I think you know this best in your heart. If it was not him who drank the blazing yang spring today, but an ordinary person who had nothing to do with it, would you be as angry as this?" After saying that, she and Di Yan turned into streams of light and returned to the wings of the Ice and Fire Dragon King. Dai Yun's was silent because of Di Shuang's last question. If he was not calculating Hou Hao today, but an ordinary person, yes, he would not be so angry. Just like Di Shuang said, Tang Liu would not shoot without purpose. But this is not a reason. Someone needs to be injured, someone needs to drink the blazing yang spring. These can be directed at him, and he can be calculated at will. He would not complain, and he also believed that Tang Liu would not really harm him. But why did he involve Hou Hao? In any case, he needed an explanation. A cold light flashed in the young man's eyes, and he leaned over to pick up the young man. Di Shuang was right about one thing, it was indeed important to save Hou Hao first. But at this moment, as if the argument was not as intense as before, a voice sounded cautiously, "In fact, it is still very simple to save him." The one who spoke was the Yaoxiang Kilo Xianpin over there. She shook the slightly shrunken flower bud and said, "As long as you can pick another acacia heartbroken red." Dai Yun's was stunned for a moment, and the kind of evil laughter that had disappeared for a long time seemed to ring in his ears again at this moment. He also suddenly realized, so this is his real purpose? Yes, another acacia heartbroken red. This is the real solution that he deliberately avoided from the beginning to the end. In front of the Yaoxiang Kilo immortal product, a young man with a sinister and handsome face, a solid physique, and long legs paced back and forth in agitation like a tiger. Among so many immortal herbs, is it only the acacia heartbroken red that can calm the conflict of opposite extreme properties? Dai Yun's asked impatiently, with his hands on his waist, stopping in front of the Yaoxiang Kilo immortal product. Yao Yao was very cautious, afraid that she would anger him accidentally, because the function of most magic herbs is to replenish and strengthen the foundation. Only acacia heartbreak red has powerful healing abilities. It can easily bring back the dead and turn bones into flesh, but it is relatively powerless to the trauma of the soul. For the conflict situation in his body now, there is nothing more suitable than acacia heartbreak red. The young man paced for a while, his expression a little subtle. To pick acacia heartbreak red, do you have to rely on the love and blood of your beloved? Is it possible that the text of the story handed down is wrong, and it is actually destined instead of beloved? Yao Yao was a little dizzy. What, something carcinogenic? I don't understand. Dai Yun's gritted his teeth. What I mean is, as his brother, is it possible for me to pick acacia heartbreak red? Yao Yao was silent, hesitant for a long time, not knowing what to say. Although I'm just a flower, I still know that this kind of deformed relationship between you is not allowed. Dai Yun's was so angry that his face turned green, and he pretended to raise his right hand. Speak to me properly. Wang Qiu smiled helplessly and said, what he meant should be that the acacia heartbroken red needs the purest love to be picked. That may not only refer to the love between men and women, but the love between relatives may also be able to pick the acacia heartbroken red. Yao Yao already felt that her roots were strangled by the spiritual power, and hurriedly said, I don't know, otherwise. Why don't you try? He took the initiative to shake the petals, and a purple light was emitted to lead the way. Dai Yun's turned around and left in an instant, following the purple light. In a moment, he came back with a flower that was exactly the same as the one attached to Hou Hao's cheek. The only difference was that the root of the acacia heartbroken red in his hand was tied with a small black stone. That was the Wuju stone that the acacia heartbroken red depended on. If the acacia heartbroken red could not be picked, and the Wuju stone was destroyed, the acacia heartbroken red on it would wither and lose its medicinal power. I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, we'll take this heartbroken acacia and leave to find Tang Wutuang. But I'm not sure if my soul power can last until we get back to Shrek. Dai Yun said. When using powerful forces, one must pay the same price. Even if he has a lot of energy in his body, the time it takes to freeze a person is still quite terrifying. Wang Killer nodded and agreed with his method. Dai Yun's took a deep breath and looked at the white heartbroken acacia in his hand, which was mixed with a hint of blood red. Yao Yao suddenly said, don't be stupid and drink a sip of the fiery yanquin. We don't have any extra heartbroken acacia for you, Yao Yao. Your seven-shaped love is not allowed, dumb Seset. Dai Yun's, silenced. I think you need an orthodontic surgery to cure your petal head full of yellow waste. The author, who has already imagined a lot of exciting extras, silently looked away, dare not say a word. JPG, Cyrillic letter Z. Chapter 653 Failure and Success. The emotions that had been brewing with great difficulty were all interrupted by Yao Yao's words, and Dai Yun's almost choked to death on his own saliva. He glared at Yao Yao fiercely, and only stopped when he stared at her until she shrank into a flower bud. Then, without hesitation, he slapped his chest and spat out blood that fell on the acacia heartbroken red. Most of the blood splashed on the ground, and only a few blood beads remained on the white petals of the acacia heartbroken red, trembling restlessly with the petals, but never falling off. He stared at the petals nervously, but after waiting for a long time, the Wuju stone under the root did not loosen. Dai Yun's angrily threw the flower and the Wuju stone out together. What a piece of crap, you really only care about love. You look down on other emotions besides this, right? Yao Yao looked at the exasperated Dai Yun's and tried to comfort him. It's okay, after all, there was no possibility for you to, right? Think about it in a positive way. Since you didn't take it off, it means that you haven't done it yet, and the brotherhood between you two hasn't deteriorated, haha. Sorry, fortunately, she apologized quickly, otherwise Dai Yun's would have slapped her now. Dai Yun snorted and said coldly to Yao Yao, don't talk to me about this anymore. If you hadn't lied to us first, we would have left with the acacia heartbreak red. Yao Yao huddled up and stopped talking immediately. Aren't you going to follow the rules that person told you? Well, then continue to follow the rules. Hou Hao passed the assessment, so he should be able to take away 7 immortal herbs from here, right? Dai Yun said. Yao Yao said weakly, how did you know? I never mentioned this at all. Dai Yun sneered, don't worry about why I know it. You can see that the source of the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, the dragon lord you mentioned, is now in my hands. The 7 immortal herbs that Hou Hao deserves from the test can be taken by himself later, but these 2 acacia heartbreak reds are not included. Now I can take whatever immortal herbs I want and as many as I want. You can't stop me. Yao Yao was horrified. Why? You didn't pass the test. Dai Yun's just spread the wings of the ice and fire dragon king. I just ask you whether you will give it to me or not. The situation is stronger than people. Yao Yao was extremely aggrieved. Then tell me, what magical herb do you want to take away? Make it clear that some of us have already developed intelligence. If you want to take them away, they will resist. I don't want the ones with intelligence. Dai Yun's curled his lips. Give me 2 plants of Wang Chuan Kiashulu and 1 plant of Karantong Xianju. Don't be too much. Is that all you want? Yao Yao had already imagined the scene of Dai Yun's asking for a huge sum of money. As soon as she retorted in grief and anger, she heard clearly what Dai Yun said. Dai Yun sneered, why, do you think I have too little? Then add more. No, no less. I'll give it to you right away. Yao Yao quickly interrupted the spell, shot out 3 purple lights, and brought 3 immortal herbs that Dai Yun's wanted. Wang Chuan Kiashulu and Karantong Xianju are both suitable for you, but you can't bear the medicinal power of 3 immortal herbs by yourself, right? Let me make it clear first, if you are blown up, you can't blame me. Dai Yun took the 3 immortal herbs without hesitation and said, if I am blown up, even if I blame you, I won't be able to trouble you again. Yao Yao was stunned for a moment. Okay, it seems so. Dai Yun was using a jade box to store the 3 immortal herbs and ignored her. But when he just put the 3 jade boxes into the storage soul guide, he heard Yaoxiang Kilo Xianpin suddenly exclaimed. Why is he so disgusted with the Yaoxiang Kilo Xianpin now? He asked impatiently, what's wrong? Yao Yao was so surprised that she stammered and couldn't say a complete sentence. You actually. Dai Yun realized that something was wrong and turned his head to look. At a glance, he saw the acacia heartbroken red in Wang Qiuer's hand. More importantly, there was no Wuju stone under the root of the acacia heartbroken red. You actually picked the acacia heartbroken red? Yao Yao asked in surprise. Wang Qiuer wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and looked at the white flower with a very gentle look. Yet, I didn't expect it to work. She looked at the Yaoxiang Kilo immortal product and asked, as long as we pick it, we can give it to anyone, right? Yao Yao shook the big flower up and down, as if nodding, that's right. The successful picking of the acacia heartbroken red proves that it has recognized its master. As long as you agree, you can give it to anyone. However, other people can only heal their wounds by taking it, and only you can greatly increase your soul power by taking it. Wang Qiuer nodded, walked in front of Dai Yun, stretched out her hand and handed the white flower to him. Go feed it to Hou Hao. Dai Yun did not move at the first time. She looked at the handsome young man who was staring at her blankly, and handed the acacia heartbroken red forward with some doubts. What are you doing? Go quickly, saving people is important. Dai Yun's pursed his lips tightly, and for a long time, he spoke, but he tried for a long time, and only spit out this one word. Wang Qiu still looked at him in confusion. The young man was silent for a moment, then said, you know what the result will be if this goes on. Really? Wang Qiu was stunned for a moment, then realized what he meant, smiled slightly, and said, who knows? The young man lowered his eyes and looked at the white flower lying quietly in her palm. He had never felt as tight in his chest as he did now, and he felt a little panicked for no reason. He swallowed a bitterness that rose in his throat for some reason. Even if there is no result, do you still think it is worth it? Wang Qiu did not speak. I know. He quickly took the acacia heartbroken red from her palm, walked to the unconscious Hu Hao, squatted down, and stuffed it into Hu Hao's mouth. The white flower spontaneously turned into juice and flowed into Hu Hao's throat, and he swallowed it all. Dai Yun's also did not forget to remove the time freeze on him so that the acacia heartbroken red could take effect. However, after that, he did not make any other moves, and did not even have the heart to check Hu Hao's current condition. The young man's eyes were somewhat empty, staring at the surface of the ice and fire spring pond in a trance. He told himself almost cruelly, the thing he had been worried about and wanted to avoid. It finally happened. The big flower on Yao Yao's stem kept turning back and forth, looking as if it was looking at those people in doubt. Finally, she seemed to have finally come to a conclusion, and looked at Wang Qiu in disbelief. So, him? Wang Qiu put her finger in front of her lips and made a gesture to her to keep quiet. Yao Yao stopped talking immediately, but the flower was still turning back and forth, as if she still didn't believe her guess. The girl looked at the back of the squatting figure who seemed to be a little decadent suddenly, and couldn't help but smile a little at the corner of her lips. But she immediately showed a bit of confusion, as if she was still puzzled about something. Will there be any result? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 654 Life and Death. Yao Yao felt that she had inadvertently eaten a big melon. After the acacia heartbroken red recognized its master, it was almost impossible for others to take it away from its master except for the owner who picked it. This can be seen from the fact that the acacia heartbroken red that Hu Hao picked was still stuck to his face and could not be removed. But at that time, it was just a pity that all the humans who came to the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire had left, and she couldn't find anyone to share it with. Tell these plant companions around? Humph, they are not interested in these things, and it would be useless to tell them, and they would not feel the same excitement as her. Although these humans who came to the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire were all for the medicinal power of these immortal herbs, after such a long period of loneliness, these people who came could still bring them some unexpected novelty. However, in the past 10,000 years, not many humans have found the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire. Yao Yao sighed in her heart, and then she planned to be silent again, and continued to fall into a long sleep. These plant soul beasts could not move at all before they could transform. The long sleep was their only way to pass the time. But just when she was about to fall asleep, she suddenly heard footsteps in the eyes of Bing Huo Liangan. She opened her eyes and saw a young man in blue and a blonde woman walking side by side. After seeing the faces of the people clearly, she instantly became alert. Then she cried out very loudly, "Wow, you are finally here. Your people took my kilo heart away, you have to compensate me with one." Her sudden shout was like the fuse that ignited the dynamite. In an instant, several equally miserable cries followed around her. "Woo, the super beast that person brought almost froze us to death. That's right, my flower has lost 3 petals, and my leaves, my beautiful leaves. Woo, you are nothing, I was almost uprooted by the blizzard." Me too, wow woo woo." Tang Liu and Jin Ringsu were shocked by the crying and shouting, and looked at each other helplessly. Okay, I will compensate you right away, okay," he said, holding his forehead. My fiery glue, my fiery glue. Such a big lump of fiery glue. Take it all away, not a drop left." Fiery apricot Jiao Shu was the one who shouted the loudest besides Yao Xiang Kilo Xianpan. All compensated to you." Tang Liu was almost speechless. When all the immortal grasses were crying hard, only the immortal grasses who liked the cold near the Hanji Ice Spring were silent and dared not say a word. What could they say? They said that they actually felt very comfortable in the blizzard raised by the Snow Emperor, and even wanted to do it again. They definitely couldn't say such words that would hinder the ice and fire yin-yang eyes immortal grasses from believing in love. Tang Liu sighed softly, raised his left hand, and the illusory, transparent and magnificent virtual blue-silver emperor grew out. The virtual blue emperor domain that had not been used for a long time opened up, covering the entire valley, and turned its special effects of stimulation, connection, and regeneration to the maximum. Then, the blue light of Heolan's magic also spread out, and at the same time, the huge vitality condensed from his left arm bone was also emitted. Triple nourishment, the effect is better than the ice and fire yin-yang eyes. With Tang Liu, the immortal grasses that were crying and shouting suddenly stopped, and all concentrated on absorbing these energies. Visible to the naked eye, these immortal grasses have become more luxuriant than before. The lavender mist quickly condensed in the petals of the Yaoxiang Kilo immortal product, and finally formed a round pill bead, which fell into the pistol and was hidden by her. Seeing this, Tang Liu also withdrew his magical power and stopped providing energy to the immortal herbs. Can you hold on for a while longer? I feel that I will soon condense another kilo heart. Yao Yao was so happy that she forgot everything. Tang Liu refused and said, if you continue, you will have to survive the 200,000-year heavenly tribulation. As soon as these words came out, the immortal herbs that were ready to move around suddenly quieted down. The path paved with pure white petals once again extended from the depths of the yin-yang eye of ice and fire, and the ethereal figure of the immortal slowly walked in. She saluted Tang Liu and Jinring Su. Thank you for your generosity in giving them the opportunity again. Tang Liu waved his hand, indicating that you are welcome. Xianling smiled and said, after this observation, have you come to a conclusion in your experiment? The young man nodded and raised his hand. A red flower appeared on his palm. Now we just have to wait for him to ascend to the divine realm. If the law is indeed fulfilled on him, then, I understand. Xianling nodded slightly. Until that day comes, I will keep the secret here, Tang Liu said. Thank you for your help. Then he turned to Jinring Su and said, let's go and give this flower to Alex. Lan Guan flashed by, and the two disappeared in the eyes of ice and fire at the same time. Xianling bowed to the void and said goodbye to the two. Sister Xianling, what are we doing? Yao Yao asked. Well, Xianling pondered for a moment and said, opportunity, fairness, and evolution. Yao Yao. Xianling looked at her with a smile. It doesn't matter if you don't understand, just work hard to grow. She looked up at the sky covered by colorful clouds. Leave the rest to us. The flower of longevity in the sky is cultivated with fairy grass and the power of the rule of longevity. This is why the fairies are in their current state. After that, I borrowed the power of the mutual generation and restraint of the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, and made the flower of longevity in the sky one of the eyes of the formation and a trigger. I wanted to use it to condense something that is manifested by the power of the rules that correspond to the other side of the mutual generation and restrained. Is it the flower of rebirth on the other shore that you just gave to Alex? Tang Liu nodded and looked up at the sky. Cultivators yearn for the heavenly palace because the heavenly palace has the long-desired longevity. The heavenly palace is high in the sky. After integrating the rules of longevity, it turned into the appearance of white other shore flowers. Coincidentally, the white other shore flower is the flower of the heavenly palace. Then corresponding to it, there should be red like horse radiata, but at that time, you only extracted the rule of longevity from the void, but did not see it, Jinring Su recalled. Yes, immortality already exists, but reincarnation is incomplete. So this is a low-level universe, and even its own laws are incomplete. Tang Liu sighed. Fortunately, the rules of death and rebirth were finally extracted by us. As long as life and death meet and transcend, it should realize what the correct path is, and I will demonstrate it to it myself. Jinring Su nodded slightly. Then why did you let Hou Hao drink the blazing Yanquan? Tang Liu smiled. I was secretly calculating against him, so I naturally couldn't do too much and let him find out something was wrong. So, I had to let him win twice smoothly, so that he would think everything was under control and our actions would not be exposed. Jinring Su understood, but what are you going to do about Dai Yun's? This is not easy to explain. It doesn't matter. Tang Liu spread his hands. He must know that I have special intentions. As for whether he is willing to believe it or not, that is his own business. And, he curled his lips and sneered, There's nothing wrong with being vigilant against me at all times, filling big holes, digging big holes. Next is the second coffin push. After the first coffin push, you will get restart yourself, so what about the second time? Doge then go to the competition. Thank you to the friends who voted for the recommendation and monthly tickets. I will continue to work hard. See you tomorrow. The 5th update is successful. Great. Chapter 655 Marrying My Brother. Shrek Academy, Poseidon Pavilion. When Dai Yun slowly floated down from the sky holding Ho Yu Hao, Elder Zhuan and the other Shrek 6 monsters who received the news all rushed over. When they saw Ho Yu Hao unconscious in Dai Yun's arms, with his hands wrapped in thick gauze and soaked in blood, their expressions changed. Tang Wutuang immediately rushed over, because she and Ho Yu Hao had a 100% martial soul fusion, and their senses for each other were the strongest. But at this moment, she could only sense an extremely weak breath of life on Ho Yu Hao. Her eyes instantly turned red. Yu Hao? What happened to Yu Hao? Dai Yun's looked extremely tired. He first said to everyone, don't worry, his life is no longer in danger. Let the healing soul master come to heal his injuries as soon as possible. Then he carried Ho Yu Hao to his residence in the Sea God Pavilion. Tang Wutuang, come with me, I have something to tell you. Kidder, tell them what happened in the past few days, he finally asked Wang Kidder, who had been standing silently behind him, and then he and Tang Wutuang went into Ho Yu Hao's room one after another. After entering the room and letting Tang Wutuang close the door, Dai Yun still did not put Ho Yu Hao down, but just looked at Tang Wutuang with a serious expression. Tang Wutuang looked at Ho Yu Hao in his arms, her lips trembling. What happened? Dai Yun sighed softly. Do you know the story of the acacia heartbroken red? Tang Wutuang was stunned. What is that? Is it related to Yu Hao's current condition? Dai Yun turned around, put Ho Yu Hao down, and let him lie flat on the bed. Tang Wutuang wanted to go over to check the situation, but Dai Yun raised his hand to stop her. She glared at Dai Yun, waiting for his explanation, but he chose to ignore her. He pointed at the white flower still on Ho Yu Hao's cheek and said, this is the acacia heartbroken red. He risked his life to pick it for you to save your life. He briefly recounted the process of Ho Yu Hao picking the acacia heartbroken red, including why they suddenly went to the yin-yang eye of ice and fire. I don't know if your hidden disease is true, but as a brother, I think it's not worth it for him to do this for you, Dai Yun said lightly, but since he risked his life to bring back this acacia heartbroken red for you, I can't help but respect his wishes. So, he took a step to the side and looked at the white flower on Ho Yu Hao's cheek. Prove to me whether you really love him as much as he loves you. Tears had already flowed uncontrollably when she heard Dai Yun say that Ho Yu Hao drank the hot Yanquan water just to pick the acacia heartbroken red for her. But she didn't cry out loud, but walked towards Ho Yu Hao firmly and leaned lightly beside him. You are so silly, Yu Hao. Don't I know whether I have hidden injuries or not? But I also want to thank you very much. Thank you for taking the risk of life and death to pick this acacia heartbroken red for me. Only a fool like you would risk your life for me. It takes the love of the one you love to be picked, right? I like this kind of sad and beautiful story very much. To be honest, I don't know how to respond to your passionate feelings. Even now, I am still a little nervous. But I believe that my love for you is just as sincere and can stand the test. She had tears in her eyes, and a mouthful of blood had already surged up her throat due to extreme sadness and joy. The girl closed her eyes and gently placed a warm, sincere, bloody kiss on the white flower on the young man's cheek. The acacia heartbroken red, which would not fall off Ho Yu Hao's face no matter how hard he tried, quietly slipped off the young man's cheek because of this light kiss, emitting a strange and warm red glow. So the girl's kiss fell on the young man's face. Dai Yun, who witnessed this scene, was a little dazed, and while he was distracted, he saw Wen Qi wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth and handing him the acacia heartbroken red. But the young man came back to his senses the next second, looking at the man and woman leaning on each other by the bed, paused for a moment, and said, I'll entrust Yu Hao to you. After that, he turned around and walked out of the room without caring whether Tang Wutuang heard it or not. Outside the door, the Shrek 6 monsters were still standing there, their expressions were silent, and their eyes were slightly red. The two girls, Jiang Nanan and Xiao Xiao, were obviously crying. Obviously, Wang Qi had told them about what they had done in the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire in the past few days. Seeing him come out, Bibi took the initiative to step forward and ask, how is Yu Hao now? Elder Zhuan has already asked the elders from the treatment department to come. He's fine, But he needs time to recover slowly. Tang Wutong is now with him inside. You can decide whether to go in and see his condition, Dai Yun said, and then called Wang Qiwer to leave together. He and Wang Qiwer walked slowly to the shore of Poseidon Lake. Thank you for picking the acacia heartbroken red for you, Hao, Dai Yun said, looking down at the water of Poseidon Lake. Wang Qiwer tucked the hair on her forehead behind her ears. It's my duty to save people. Dai Yun stared at the clear lake water for a long time before looking at Wang Qiwer next to him. He couldn't help but say, you have my memories, so you also know that falling in love with him will lead to no results. And Wang Qiwer's response was the same as when she saw the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire. She smiled and shrugged. Really? Who knows? Dai Yun sighed lightly and said nothing more. Anyway, it's still troublesome for you to come with us. But I need to take up some of your rest time for the time being. Can you go with me to see Master Zhuan, Wang Qiwer? Is it about the competition? Of course, Dai Yun nodded. Yes. I have some things to explain, and then I will leave the training of them to you for the time being. Are you leaving? Yes. The young man looked into the distance of the sea-god lake. His expression suddenly turned cold, his brows knitted, and anger was hidden in his eyes. I'm going to find someone to settle accounts first. Shrek Inner Court, Seoul Guidance Department Building. Led by Dai Hulbin and Ningdan, the Inner Court students who will represent Shrek in this competition stood in a place they had never set foot on. They were summoned here by the Inner Court teacher early this morning, but the teacher who led them here did not explain why they came to the Seoul Guidance Department's territory. Even though Shrek has recently increased the development of the Seoul Guidance Department due to the Tang sect, its overall status is still not as good as that of the Martial Soul Department. The Martial Soul Department geniuses do not look down on the Seoul Guidance Department. Soon, several more teachers came in, followed by the contestants from the outer courtyard. They all looked curious and puzzled. The teacher asked everyone to wait here and be patient, then turned and left. Wu Feng was a little dissatisfied. Dai and Wang Qiwer have disappeared for more than 10 days. No one has trained us for such a long time. How can we participate in the competition? Chapter 656, Settlement of Accounts. Ningdian used his eyes to comfort her. It seems that Elder Zhuan and Ding Yang have completely delegated power to that guy named Dai. He certainly wouldn't dare to mess up on such an important matter. And I have sent my family to check, but I can't find any information about Dai. This guy seems to have appeared out of thin air. In short, this person is not simple. We just need to follow his arrangements for the time being. Wu Feng snorted and didn't say anything else. Everyone chatted quietly for a while, and finally saw the closed metal door in the hall move. Dai Yun's, Wang Qiwer, and a few guys who looked like researchers walked out of the metal door that was open to both sides. Dai Yun strode up to the crowd, without explaining why he suddenly called them together, and said in a solemn voice, "Listen carefully, I now require you as the captain. Each of you must customize a soul guide device from the soul guide system as follows. Each person who is good at close combat will have a close-range soul guide device. Each person will have a soul guide cannon with control ability, and those who have insufficient soul skill attack power or are not good at close combat will have to add an offensive soul guide cannon. All of the above soul guides must match one's own strength. Those who are confident can try to use soul guides of higher levels. In addition, each of you must be equipped with at least 2 charging soul guides of the same level as your own cultivation, at least 1 invincible shield, 1 defensive soul guide equivalent to your own cultivation, and a trigger defensive soul guide that is at least 1 level higher than your own cultivation. I equip you with these not only to further enhance your strength, but also to allow you to better protect yourself on the field. Don't underestimate the All-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy Fighting Soul Competition. Its field is like a battlefield. If you are not careful, you will be buried on the competition stage. Does anyone have any objections? Dai Yun swept the crowd in front of him with a cold look. Wu Feng raised her hand. I don't want to use so many soul guides. I think those close-range soul guides, soul guide cannons, and defensive soul guides can only be a burden to my combat power. Dai Yun glanced at her and said, "Sorry, I just asked symbolically. You don't have the right to choose. You must equip yourself with soul guides according to my requirements." Wu Feng was immediately furious. "You?" But she met the young man's eyes full of hostility, and in an instant, all her dissatisfaction disappeared without a trace. "If you don't want to use it, I will beat you until you are willing to use it. Don't think I'm joking. The danger of the competition is beyond your imagination. If you still want to come back alive and well, just listen to me." He signaled to the researchers who followed him, and they immediately walked to each student and took them into the soul guidance building one by one. During the process, no one dared to speak again, because the young man today was surprisingly terrifying, standing there with a cold and serious look, like a beast ready to devour anyone at any time. Especially the glare he gave Wu Feng just now. The murderous aura contained in it was so strong that it was scary. At that moment, they seemed to see a sea of blood and corpses in the young man's eyes. After everyone was brought into the building, Dai-Yun's raised his hand to pinch the bridge of his nose and closed his eyes to relax. He then said to Wang Qitor beside him, "We will customize soul guidance devices here for about the whole day today. Please keep an eye on them and let them cooperate well." Wang Qitor nodded. "Dai-Yuns, you should also order a set. You have the golden dragon spear, so you don't need any of the other items except the close body soul guide. Don't worry, I will train them well. How long will it take you to come back? I don't know, but I will rush back before leaving for Mingdu. If you need anything, go to Dinyan, and he will help you, okay?" After saying goodbye to Wang Qitor, Dai-Yuns walked out of the soul guidance department building, then directly jumped on the spot and flew away. He had already reported to Elder Zhuan in advance about his departure this time, so there was no need to worry about alarming the elders of the Sea God Pavilion. But in fact, Dai-Yuns, who hurriedly left Shrek Academy, did not leave far. He just flew out of the range of Shrek City and landed on the ground, shouting in a deep voice, "Tang Liu, I know you have been listening, come out." This shout did not call anyone, but called a blue door. He frowned, stepped into it, and his figure and the door disappeared together. As expected, the strange blue-black space was inside the door. At this time, he was standing on the cobblestone path leading to the wooden house. The young man narrowed his eyes and strode towards the wooden house. As if sensing the cold and fierce aura on him, the blue-silver grass around him grew abnormally, obviously sensing that the visitor was not friendly and wanted to fight back. However, in the end, they just shook the grass leaves faster, and there was no further movement. Dai-Yuns walked very fast and soon arrived in front of the main door of the wooden house. With a casual push of the power of space, he pushed the door open and walked in. "Tang Liu," he shouted, and his voice spread throughout the whole palace. "Come up, soon." He also got a response. With a flash of his figure, he was teleported to the second floor through the power of space, and saw the blue-haired young man sitting on the sofa with his back to him, drinking tea. Dai-Yuns' eyes condensed, and the force of space first solidified and blocked the space nearby, and then the spiritual power surged out, directly overturning all the sofas and coffee tables around the young man. The young man was pushed forward by his mental power as if he could not resist, and was controlled by him to turn around. He kicked the ground with his feet, and rushed out like an arrow, directly grasped the young man's chest and pressed him against the wall, staring directly into the young man's eyes, and asked, "Why did you let Toyu Hao drink the blazing yanquin and almost killed him?" Tang Liu tilted his head slightly, and a smile appeared on his handsome and charming face. Wow, this is not very polite." Dai-Yuns increased his strength. "Don't talk nonsense, answer my question. I thought you would ask me about Wang Qitor first, but Toyu Hao is more important to you, right?" The young man raised his eyebrows and curled the corners of his lips. Any facial expression could instantly trigger negative emotions in the viewer's heart. Even though he had a face that was hard to dislike, it was precisely because of this face that Dai-Yuns' eyes sank again. He gritted his teeth and said, "Don't change the subject." The blue-haired young man snorted and laughed twice, and shook his head a little helplessly. He suddenly raised his hand and placed his palm next to Dai-Yuns' right temple. A misty blue-black light shone in his palm. The irises of Dai-Yuns' two eyes turned the same blue-black under the influence of the blue light, and his brain suddenly felt a needle-like pain. He had to let go of Tang Liu and pressed his head with one hand, with a painful expression on his face. Chapter 657, Unspeakable? Do you understand now? Tang Liu crossed his arms and looked at Dai-Yuns. Dai-Yuns hurriedly read the new memories in his mind. These were what Tang Liu really gave him, and the stinging feeling should be just a slight punishment for his behavior just now. The extra memory was just as he thought. At that time, Tang Liu did appear in the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire to attract his attention, so that he did not immediately notice Toyu Hao rushing towards the blazing yanquin. The intention of doing so was just to make the gods think that nothing had changed, so that they would not have any doubts. Dai-Yuns gritted his teeth, and when the dizziness caused by the stinging in his brain slightly subsided, he suddenly opened the realm of lightless silence. The darkness spread from behind him, gradually engulfing his figure. His resentful eyes were bright stars in the darkness, but they were also swallowed by the darkness in the next second. Tang Liu looked at the invading dark domain and sighed softly. Well, I'll fight with you. He took the initiative to walk forward and let the darkness swallow him up completely. The lightless and silent domain only occupies a small area on the second floor, and it seems that its diameter is less than 5 meters. But inside the domain, the space and distance seem to be infinitely extended, and it is an endless and boundless darkness. In this darkness, Dai Yun's is the absolute master, and everything in the domain is in his eyes. He moved his body in the thick darkness, secretly and quickly approaching the person in his perception. But in the next second, a blue light suddenly flew over, which was not affected by the pulling and swallowing power of the lightless and silent domain at all. In the blink of an eye, it fell on Dai Yun's, and then burst out with thousands of dazzling radioactive lights, directly piercing the darkness. The lightless and silent domain dissipated directly in the blue light, and Dai Yun's fell to the ground, staring blankly at the blue-haired young man who was still standing in front of him with his arms folded. The blue light did not hurt him, but when he was hit, he seemed to vaguely perceive countless complex laws hidden in it. At that moment, a force similar to modification or erasure suddenly erupted, breaking his domain so easily. It should not be the simplest way, but it is the way that will least hurt him. Tang Liu's strength is obvious. Even if he said that he is only level 96, that is a height that Dai Yun's cannot compete with for the time being. The blue-haired young man sighed for the nth time today, raised his hand and waved it casually. A blue light flashed, and the sofa and coffee table that Dai Yun's had thrown away before instantly returned to their original positions. He sat down opposite Dai Yun's with his feet up. I say, are you really standing up for Hou Hao? Dai Yun's got up from the ground with a feeling of grievance. You can come at me as you please, but you can't hurt him. Tang Liu curled his lips. I hurt him? Did I personally pour the scorching yanquan into his mouth? In the whole thing, I just showed up accidentally. You saw me with your keen observation ability, which attracted your attention and resulted in the failure to rescue Hou Hao in time. Think about it yourself. Is this my fault? Dai Yun's took a breath of cold air. Too shameless. Did you learn this from Tang San? Just tell me if this is the truth. Dai Yun's was so angry that he sat down on the sofa. After taking a few quick breaths, he sighed. Actually, I understand your intention of doing this, but I don't understand. It was you who asked me to stand up and save people without any scruples, but it was also you who pushed the person I wanted to save into danger with your own hands. I just couldn't digest this contradiction for a while. No need to understand. Tang Liu sat up straighter and said seriously, for the ultimate goal, I have to do these things, and no one else is more suitable to bear these than me. Hou Hao drank the blazing yanquan because he interfered and it was part of his plan. It's just that I am not strong enough to ignore everything, so I chose to let this happen. I apologize to you for this plan. Dai Yun sneered. What other plans can he have? Tang Liu sighed. After several episodes, the only protagonist who has nothing to do with the time traveler is Hou Hao? Right, Dai Yun's nodded. He is the son of destiny who was born to meet the destiny, carrying an unspeakable mission. But what if unspeakable is disappointed with the son of destiny he created? Then will it just happen to be in line with the wishes of some people, and unspeakable can only turn his attention to the morning star that forcibly obscured the light of other stars, and hand over the great power to the person who planned it, or people related to the person who planned it, such as one of his descendants? He said it a little obscure, but combined with the original work he had read, it was still easy to understand the meaning. Dai Yun's asked in confusion, will drinking the blazing yanquan cause unspeakable disappointment? Tang Liu chuckled twice. God didn't create life for you to ignore your own life so easily. Besides, no one wants the person they are going to hand over power to be someone who gives up his life because of someone's impulse without hesitation. Would that be a waste of training? But it's okay if it's just this once, but disappointment accumulates bit by bit. Dai Yun's thought of his brother who was in love, and found it difficult to refute, so he fell silent. In fact, it wouldn't be impossible for them to have a normal relationship, but there's someone behind them who's taking advantage of their feelings. Look at how badly Hou Hao was controlled in the later period. Tang Liu smacked his lips and shook his head. After a long time, Dai Yun sighed. I believe you. Let's just let this matter pass for now. But you have to compensate me. Tang Liu put their fingertips together and suddenly smiled maliciously. In that case, I'll show you a place. What do you mean? Southeast of the Xingluo Empire, Haixin City. There, You might be able to see clearly some of your own feelings about someone. Dai Yun stood up instantly and interrupted him loudly. Stop talking. Tang Liu looked at his slightly red ears and couldn't help laughing. You young guys are very energetic, but you still have to touch an old man like me when you disagree with something. You really don't have the virtue of respecting the elderly and loving the young? The sofa and coffee table began to shake restlessly again, as if as long as the young man said another word, Dai Yun's would overturn the table again. Tang Liu raised his hand, and the blue gold light condensed into a somewhat illusory spear in his palm. Take this with you. You will know what to do when you arrive. What is this? Another test of mine. I'll lend it to you for fun. Dai Yun took it, and saw that after the spear was in his hand, it quickly turned gray and black, which was very magical. Isn't it the blue-silver overlord spear? Wrong, Tang Liu corrected seriously. It's the blue-silver spirit emperor spear. Pay attention to see if you can witness history tonight. Temporarily 3 chapters. Eat melon JPG. The author will write more in the evening, and it is not clear whether there will be 2 more chapters. The original timeline of this chapter, Dai Yun's went up. Tang Liu was not hurt. Dai Yun's did not want to give up. Tang Liu played with him slowly. Dai Yun's really had no tricks. King Gaia finally got rid of the Holy Spirit Church and appeared. Dai Yun's asked King Gaia to help him. King Gaia saw that there was a master on one side and a master on the other, and he was a man on both sides. Unfortunately, I strayed from Doge while riding, thanks to the friends who voted for recommendations and monthly tickets. Thanks to the book friend Firefly Dust for the 1,500 book coins reward. Thank you for your support. I will continue to work hard. See you tomorrow. Chapter 658, Haixin City. The Son of Destiny, the unspeakable power that the gods are trying to usurp. Is it really as evil as you say? If it is true, why did he do this? From what you said, it seems that he can only let one of his descendants take that position. Not long after Dai Yun's left, Jin Ringsu came over and asked bluntly. If it is the Tang San in the original book, I don't know the purpose of his doing this. But my brother, the blue-haired young man's expression suddenly became serious. It is very likely that it is because of me. Jin Ringsu was stunned. You? Tang Liu laughed again, walked forward and took her hand. I will take you to feel it, and you may know. Jin Ringsu's expression was still a little confused, but she nodded. Focus, but keep your mind. Tang Liu had a smile on his face. As soon as he finished speaking, his whole body began to emit blue light, especially those strange eyes, which were even more blue. Jin Ringsu, whose hand he was holding, also had her golden eyes turn blue at the same time. Her pupils instantly dilated and she took a deep breath, as if she had suddenly seen something very incredible. Then, a look of shock and obsession appeared on that heroic and beautiful face. The blue light dissipated, and Jin Ringsu's pupils returned to normal, but the astonishment in them had not disappeared, and it was obvious that she had not recovered from the scene she had seen before. How is it? The young man asked with a smile, his lips curved. Is this the whisper of all things, a higher peak? This is transcendence. Her expression was still quite shocked, because at that moment, the feeling of consciousness climbing to an unimaginable height and everything in the universe falling into her eyes in an instant was so refreshing and wonderful. It was hard to contain the excitement. If that's the case, I think I understand why he covets that position. Jin Ringsu's cheeks flushed. That was the blush that only appeared when she was extremely excited. Will I have the chance to see such a view? Tang Liu laughed and suddenly looked up somewhere. When you enter the God realm and the angels return to the kingdom of God, then look at the boundless universe again, and you will find the answer. Jin Ringsu looked up with his gaze, and then lowered her head again as if they had telepathy, and their eyes met. Now, let me keep you in suspense. Tang Liu smiled. Jin Ringsu suppressed the enthusiasm in her eyes. Okay, Xingluo Empire, Haixin City. This was once just an inconspicuous small city. But after countless years of development, Haixin City has squeezed into the ranks of Xingluo's first-tier cities, almost comparable to the capital Xingluo City. After leaving Tang Liu's strange space, Dai Yun's appeared not far from Haixin City and entered the city in a short time. After the blue-silver spirit emperor spear left that space, it turned into a blue-gold-blue-silver grass mark in the palm of his right hand. When Dai Yun's walked into Haixin City, the blue-silver grass mark flashed and was slightly hot, as if guiding him to go in a certain direction. He did not resist and wandered around Haixin City following the instructions of the mark. After all, Tang Liu only told him to come to Haixin City, but did not tell him what he was going to do in Haixin City. In this way, he could see the destination clearly at a glance. There were people coming and going in the city. And no one would care that there was suddenly an unfamiliar person in the city. Although the young man had already distorted the space on his face to cover up his true appearance, his upright and agile figure still attracted the attention of many people along the way. Dai Yun's ignored all of them and concentrated on his journey, and finally came to a magnificent house. The plaque on the door read 9-Heart Begonia. He was immediately refreshed and had some guesses in his mind. Whether it was when Shrek was studying or when he followed Long Xiao, he had been told about the 9-Heart Begonia spirit. This top-level healing auxiliary spirit was as important as the 9-Treasure Glazed Pagoda, and even rarer than the 9-Treasure Glazed Pagoda. As far as he knew, the most famous 9-Heart Begonia spirit master in the world was in Haixin City, and had cured countless illnesses. Now Tang Liu's blue-silver spirit emperor spear had led him here again. Could it be that his trip was related to the 9-Heart Begonia spirit master? While Dai Yun's was still thinking, he saw a man gradually walking into the house with the door opened. He was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s, with short black hair, tall and strong, and full of energy. "You're here." The middle-aged man stood in front of the door, looked at Dai Yun's and smiled. "Come in, they've been waiting for you for a long time." Dai Yun's looked around and pointed at himself uncertainly. "Me." The man smiled and made a gesture of invitation. Dai Yun's then walked into the imposing gate and walked into the depths of Zai with the middle-aged man. "Let me introduce myself. My name is Tang Jin, and I am the steward of the 9-Heart Begonia family," the middle-aged man said as he walked. "Hello, my name is Dai Yun's," he also replied politely. The 9-Heart Begonia family is similar to the handed-down sects such as the 7 Treasures Glazed sect and the Haotian sect. The 7 Treasures Glazed sect has an autonomous city such as the 7 Treasures city in its country, and the Haixin city is also equivalent to the fiefdom canonized by the royal family of the Xingluo Empire. Although there can only be 2 9-Heart Begonia soul masters in the world at the same time, it is precisely because of the continuous selfless healing behavior for thousands of years that this weak family has successfully developed and has been supported by countless soul masters and ordinary people. At present, almost no one really knows how powerful the 9-Heart Begonia family is and how many top soul masters are related to it. Even if we put aside the title Douluo, there are countless other soul masters who have received the favor of the 9-Heart Begonia family. It is said that a certain 9-Heart Begonia spirit master contributed very valuable medical knowledge, which not only greatly reduced the cost of medical treatment for ordinary people, but also significantly increased the cure rate of difficult diseases, allowing the population of the entire Douluo continent to rise several times in history. Since then, no matter which 9-Heart Begonia spirit master, he has enjoyed extremely high praise on the continent. Those who know about his deeds, no one does not sigh that a doctor is kind-hearted. Even the 9-Heart Begonia family has set up public consultation offices in various parts of the continent. It's a pity that Dai Yun's knew nothing about it, otherwise Hoyuner. Even at this time, many people who come to see a doctor can still be seen in the Fu-Ai of the 9-Heart Begonia family. Some of them have obvious soul power fluctuations, and some are just pure ordinary people. Everyone comes and goes in Fu-Ai. Although some people look solemn, it is still a peaceful scene. Tang Jin led Dai Yun's all the way to the depths of Fu-Ai, until he came to a small courtyard that looked very inconspicuous. "Sorry, I can only send you here. They are waiting for you in the courtyard. Please come in." Tang Jin stopped in front of the gate of the courtyard, which looked a bit old but still clean, and said to Dai Yun's. Dai Yun's thanked him first, and then asked, "Can you tell me who is inside?" Tang Jin smiled slightly and said, "They are my children." Chapter 659, The Second Coffin Push. The furnishings in the courtyard were very neat, so neat that it didn't look like anyone lived here. The blue-silver grass mark on the palm of his hand became hotter and hotter. When he found a secret door in the house, the scorching temperature almost burned him. It seemed that the place he was looking for was here. Dai Yun's thought and stretched out his hand to open the secret door. The familiar blue mist came to his face when the secret door opened. He paused and had some guesses in his mind. Could it be? He walked in without hesitation. There was a staircase leading down inside the door, and the blue-black light mist was the only light source. When Dai Yun's walked down the stairs, the secret door slowly closed, and the white light from the outside world disappeared completely. Dai Yun's expression did not change, and he continued to walk down calmly. The stairs were not long, and the mist was still the same as last time. The deeper you went, the thicker it became, until the narrow vision suddenly became clear, and the blue light in it suddenly became stronger. Unlike the Benwu Pavilion, which was covered with blue-black runes, this underground chamber was covered with blue-black array patterns. Where the traces converged, there were indeed two crudely made coffins that looked like long wooden boxes. Dai Yun's was refreshed and walked quickly to the two coffins, covering the lids of each with his hands. Did he have to push the coffin again? After pushing the coffin last time, his time talent was greatly enhanced, from only being able to slightly pause time to being able to easily rewind his own time. What about after the second time? How would the time talent be enhanced? Because of his experience, Dai Yun's was familiar with it this time. He opened the Eye of Destiny, mobilized the power of time to protect himself, and used both hands to push the lids of the two coffins slowly. Dazzling blue light bloomed from the gaps in the coffins. The familiar feeling of being washed away by the surging river of time also came again. But this time, he was much stronger than last time. He didn't just protect his consciousness, but took the initiative to put the power of the long river of time into the protection circle, allowing his consciousness to contact it and receive all kinds of information contained in the 10,000 years of time. After a moment of trance, strange pictures flooded into his mind one after another. He looked around, as if he was already somewhere else. What a beautiful little world, with mist floating in the air and towering and steep mountains, like a sword that seemed to pierce the sky. There were vigorous green pines on the mountain, and white cranes occasionally flew in the sky. It was a scene of immortals who were not stained by the world. Dai Yun's looked shocked and kept looking around. He found himself standing on the top of a mountain, feeling down to earth, as if he had really come to this world. He took a tentative step forward and didn't feel blocked, so he walked to the edge of the mountain with confidence and boldness, and observed this world more carefully. His eyes were immediately attracted by the highest mountain, because the clouds in the sky over there were strangely hovering, as if they were attracted by something. There was a strange light flashing on it, extremely sharp, extremely cold, and extremely dangerous. Dai Yun's was concentrating on looking over there, when he suddenly saw a cloud flying towards him, stopping at his feet with a purpose, as if inviting him to stand on it. He hesitated for a moment, first trying to summon the wings of the Ice and Fire Dragon King, and the possession of the martial spirit, and after finding that he failed, he carefully stepped in the cloud that didn't look like a place for a person to stand. As a result, the cloud could really bear his weight, and it felt soft and fluffy when he stepped on it, but there was no sense of instability. After Dai Yun stood on it, the cloud moved on its own, carrying him slowly towards the highest peak. The expression on his face was a little weird. Flying in the clouds? What a novel experience. He couldn't help but put his hands behind his back and made a serious expression, although it was only for a moment. He couldn't help laughing, and then glanced around with a guilty look, fearing that someone would see his actions just now. The cloud did not send him directly to the top of the mountain, but to the mountain climbing steps some distance away from the top of the mountain. He did not care, and after jumping off, he followed the path up the steps. After walking to the top of the mountain, he saw a figure sitting cross-legged on the edge of the cliff with his back to him. The man was dressed in white clothes that were whiter than snow, and the clothes were fluttering. Clouds and mist swirled around him, moving with his breathing. He seemed to emit invisible light, as if he was part of the painting of heaven and earth, indistinguishable from each other. Dai Yun's walked forward at a normal speed, wanting to get closer to the man who was almost integrated with heaven and earth. As a result, as soon as he took a step, his facial skin suddenly felt a stinging pain, as if something extremely sharp had rubbed his face and slid past him at that moment, easily tearing his skin. There was a warm liquid slowly flowing down his face, and Dai Yun's raised his hand to wipe it with some horror, looking at the touch of red on his fingertips. This time he looked up again, but did not dare to act rashly again. This time, countless cold air currents circling around the man, emitting cold light, finally came into view. Those cold air currents flying around intertwined with each other, forming an airtight wall, preventing others from approaching. What cut him before was a ray of light from the countless lights. The cold light that was invisible a second ago could be captured by his eyes at this time. It should be his previous touch that awakened the white-clothed man sitting cross-legged on the edge of the cliff, not far away. Then, under his deliberate control, these extremely sharp cold lights appeared in front of him. The white-clothed man should have no ill will towards him, otherwise, if it were someone else, he would have been torn into pieces by countless cold lights without knowing it. Yun suppressed the horror in his heart and watched the white-clothed man on the edge of the cliff rise from the ground and look at him. He suddenly felt as if his body was pierced by two sharp swords, as if everything about him was seen through by the white-clothed man. "Sorry, I hurt you by accident." The man in white smiled embarrassedly, raised his hand, and the cold light around him was drawn away by him, and all of them were immersed in the snow-white long sword that followed him silently. "It's okay, it's just a minor injury." Yun responded quickly. Although he couldn't release his martial spirit now, his physical fitness was still there, and the shallow wound on his face was about to heal and disappear. The man in white gradually walked towards him, and the clouds around him were pushed away, floating to the sky and far away, and his true face was revealed in front of Yun's. He was a man who looked very young, handsome, with a tall and straight figure like a pine tree, a handsome face, and a white dress with an extraordinary temperament. With a snow-white long sword floating behind him, he really looked like a banished immortal. It's just that this immortal has short black hair, which makes him look a little worldly. "Hello, my name is Lu Qifeng." The young man in white came up to Yun's, showed a friendly but slightly shy smile, and introduced himself. Chapter 660 Lingling and Lu Qifeng. Another unfamiliar name, but a very strong guy. Yun's also said his name. The young man's eyes were sharp and bright, just like the shining blade of the snow-white longsword behind him, which seemed to be able to illuminate all the haze. He looked at Yun's, who seemed a little restrained, smiled casually, and gestured to Yun's, "Please follow me." Lu Qifeng stretched out his hand to summon a cloud, motioning Yun's to go up. He had the experience of riding a cloud before, so Yun's did not resist. But when he thought that the young man in white would stand on the cloud and move like him, he saw that the young man in white simply took a step, and a bright sword light appeared under his feet, lifting his figure and flying away. Yun's cloud followed the young man in white not far behind him. He looked at the handsome young man standing with his hands behind his back on the sword light, his white clothes dancing in the wind, calm and elegant, and was stunned. Damn, so handsome. It was the style he dreamed of when he was in his middle school years. Yun's couldn't help but curse in his heart, with an envy that he couldn't hide. Lu Qifeng led Yun's to another mountain. The fog here was thicker, even showing a light pink color, which was very beautiful. The young man in white flying in front of him first pierced a path through the fog, and Yun stepped in the clouds before entering. Within the fog, there were trees with white or pink flowers everywhere. After careful identification, they seemed to be crab apples. The faint and mellow fragrance permeated the nose, making people feel relaxed in an instant. They landed in the crabapple forest and walked deeper. Soon after, they saw a small house, which was the same as the one where Yun's found the secret orb before. Not far from the small house, there was a beautiful woman with long blue hair and white clothes. She was carrying a bamboo basket, cutting the branches of the crabapple tree and putting them in the bamboo basket. There were already many crabapple branches in her bamboo basket, and many beautiful flowers were blooming on each branch. Yun saw that Lu Qifeng's pace had quickened a lot in an instant. He walked all the way to the blue-haired woman and called softly, "Lingling." The blue-haired woman temporarily stopped pruning branches and looked back at the two people who were walking over. "You are here?" Lu Qifeng took the bamboo basket and pruning tools from her hand and nodded. "I just met him not long ago. In a few minutes, we should be able to go out." The blue-clothed woman nodded slightly, then looked at Yun's behind her and smiled slightly. Suddenly, her cold face was as bright and beautiful as the begonia flowers all over the mountains around her. "Hello, my name is Lingling." Yun's, who was a little restrained, changed color instantly because of her words. He couldn't help asking, "Lingling? Are you the Lingling who has the 9-heart begonia?" She couldn't help but smile again and nodded. "It's me." Yun's felt a little dazed. Although he felt a little regretful for not hearing the familiar name for several times in a row, he was really surprised when he heard the familiar name now. He didn't expect Tang Liu to really bring the people in the original book to join the gang. Although he was surprised, Yun still didn't forget to say his name. Lingling turned to Lu Qifeng and said, "Take him in to sit first, I still need to plant these." Lu Qifeng whispered, "I'm going out soon, do I still need to plant these?" Lingling took the bamboo basket from him and smiled softly. "After all, it's been so long since we've planted it. Even if it's the last time, we have to take it seriously." Lu Qifeng took the bamboo basket back. "Then I'll go with you, don't make trouble, there are guests," Lingling said with a helpless smile. As a result, Lu Qiufeng raised his hand and touched his forehead, and a ball of cold light was thrown out by him, and then an illusory figure exactly like him condensed on the ground. He looked at Yun's and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, we have some things to deal with for the time being. Please excuse me for leaving you for a moment. I can only let Jianxi entertain you first." Yun's had long seen that the relationship between the two people was not simple, and expressed his understanding, saying, "Go and do what you have to do, don't worry about me, thank you." Lu Qiufeng nodded, then turned around and walked with Yi Lingling into the depths of the crabapple forest. Not long after they walked out, the two held hands together. Yun's looked at their gradually receding backs, and thought of the scenes he had seen along the way. A beautiful and dangerous paradise on earth, a pair of talented men and beautiful women who have lived here for who knows how long. Such a life must be quite comfortable. "Come in with me," Jianxi, who was left behind by Lu Qiufeng, spoke, and then walked into the small courtyard first. Yun's followed him and walked into the house. Jianxi made him a cup of flower tea, then turned around and walked into the depths of the house, and walked out with a jade box a moment later. "The things inside can tell you what you want to know." Yun's watched Jianxi make a decision, and several sword lights flashed around the jade box. He didn't know what the principle was, but the lock on it opened with a click. Jianxi opened it, and Yun's looked inside and saw a pink crabapple flower. The crabapple flower was shining, and after the jade box was opened, it flew out of it, slowly came in front of Yun's, and then turned into a stream of light and sank into his brow. As his pupils dilated, scenes began to flash quickly in front of his eyes. It was probably about a family story. He saw many familiar faces in it. It started with a male soul master with a top-level offensive sexual organ martial spirit and a female soul master with a top-level healing plant martial spirit, falling in love. In order to smoothly pass on the nine-hearted begonia, the male soul master asked the big sect for a secret method to seal his own martial spirit. As a result, it was a carefully arranged trap. With a twisted personality, he cooperated with those big sects to seize property, forced the descendants of Jinbooks and Hidang to death, and even personally sent the young girl born with his lover to the hands of human traffickers. A man in black took the young girl away in time and sent her to the Xiandao Empire. Although the tragedy was avoided, the girl began a lonely and wandering life. Not long after, the crazy male soul master ran away and killed many people from the big sects while he was in a daze. Then one day, he met a boy who was hunted by an evil soul master and his family was broken up. Because there were not many vague impressions left in his mind. He rescued the boy, but he also lost his legs. The boy's martial soul was awakened by him later. It was just an ordinary sword, but it was an extremely rare innate full soul power. In order to take better care of the man, the boy's first soul ring only absorbed the lowest level 10-year soul beast. After that, the two called each other father and son, and depended on each other for a long time on the mainland. Until one day, the boy learned a piece of news from the cakes given by a kind person. A piece of news that could possibly cure his adoptive father's increasingly serious injuries. Then, as if fate had already arranged it, the three of them met in that Haitian city. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 661 Autumn and Begonia. This is the first part of the story, but more important is what happened later. The girl who knew the truth and untied her knot in her heart asked a blue-haired young man to erase all her memories of her father. But the blue-haired young man asked her to take people to take revenge, and wait until the day when the enemy was destroyed. If the idea still did not change, he would erase her memory. The girl agreed. Then came the difficult years of revenge. Even with a father who had recovered to the peak of his body and strength, they were never easy in the days of being hunted. The boy sacrificed his life several times and protected the girl who was not strong in combat ability in the danger of life and death. So feelings gradually grew. After countless trials of life and death, the girl became smarter and the boy became stronger, and finally destroyed all the enemies. That day, the girl met a blue-haired young man again. On the way to another continent, the blue-haired young man was on a carriage running in the sky. According to the agreement, he asked the girl again, "After so much, do you still want to erase the memory related to your father?" The girl recalled her previous experiences and sighed. The experience of revenge is not easy, and life and death are common. Even though her father had a cultivation level close to that of a titled Douluo, he still encountered fatal crises several times. But even at the risk of his life, he always took care of the girl and the boy, which gradually, bit by bit, accumulated in the girl's already soft heart. She deeply realized that the man who ignored her cries and cruelly sent her to the human traffickers, and the man who was willing to fight for her safety, were two different people from beginning to end. The girl's concept changed, and she began to covet the only memories of her father during the days of revenge. So she finally said to the blue-haired young man, "Erase any of his memories about me. Don't remember the painful memories of the past, and leave only the beauty between life and death in your mind. Let only Xiao Feng exist in his memory, which is the best result. Don't let him know that she is his daughter. Then he will never fall into that dark time again." The blue-haired young man smiled and agreed, so the girl seemed to let go of some restraints and went back to her room alone to cry. When she came out again, she had become more cheerful than before, looking forward to the other continent that was about to be reached, and what kind of scene it would be. This is their story. The light and shadow in front of him faded away, and Dai Yuns woke up from his trance. Jianxi looked at him. "Have you found the answer you want?" Dai Yuns was silent for a long time, but he said, "It seems that the time is almost up. I am about to push the coffin away. Take me to find them. I'm going to say goodbye." Jianxi smiled and did not refuse. "Come with me." They walked deep into the crabapple forest until they walked out of the lush crabapple forest. There was an open space in front of them, with many crabapple seedlings growing. Not far away, Lu Qifeng and Yu Lingling squatted together in front of a piece of land without crabapple trees, and planted a crabapple branch together. Afterwards, the girl held the white crabapple flower in her palm, and bursts of white light floated on the planted crabapple branch. The boy gently cut his finger and squeezed a drop of blood into the soil of the crabapple branch. Suddenly, the branch took root and sprouted. The boy sucked his finger, and the girl looked at him with a smile. They looked at each other, their eyebrows conveyed feelings, and they were naturally in tune with each other. What a beautiful picture. The sword consciousness turned into a stream of light and returned to Lu Qifeng, and he also noticed the arrival of Dai Yuns. He exchanged glances with Yi Lingling, stood up in the smile on the girl's face, and walked quickly to Dai Yuns. Dai Yuns looked at him. "Why did you plant the crabapple tree like that?" Lu Qifeng smiled and said, "In order to deal with the slander of the gods, the inheritance of the nine-hearted begonia outside cannot be easily cut off. So we planted the crabapple and exchanged it for the incarnation of the crabapple flower. But 10,000 years is too long, so unknowingly, we have planted a crabapple forest. It turned out that this lush crabapple forest came from here. The coffin is almost done, right? Remember, when you get out of here and push the coffin open completely, you must leave immediately. You can't stay for a second longer, otherwise you may run into the gods who come to investigate." Lu Qifeng said, raised his hand, and showed him a purple-red rune surrounded and sealed by several sword-shaped sword key patterns. "This is what will attract the gods to come and check. The captain's power is hidden, and the gods will not notice them. But as you push open more coffins, this hidden power will become weaker. Last time you had plenty of time to dodge, this time you may only have a few seconds. The next time, you may face the gods who come to investigate directly, so be careful." Dai Yuns nodded slightly, indicating that he understood. "In this case, there is no need to say more. See you later." Lu Qifeng took back the purple-red rune and said to Dai Yuns with a smile. But before leaving, Dai Yuns suddenly asked, "Haven't you ever thought that you wouldn't end up like this?" Lu Qifeng was stunned for a moment, and then, even after so many years, this shy boy who still felt embarrassed to talk about these things, scratched his head and said, "I don't know. She is a noble nine-hearted begonia, and I am just an ordinary soul master. But the captain said that if you really like her, you should speak out boldly. Even if you are rejected, at least you will have no regrets." Then, the boy looked over there, at the girl who was singing for the begonia in a low voice, with a gentle expression. Then, "We will talk to each other and ask the Kyankan Valley of Love. Consciousness is no longer affected by the 10,000 years of time." He raised his hand and exerted force, and the coffins of the two coffins were blown away. The blue light disappeared completely, leaving only the fairyland-like small world in the coffins. He glanced at the small words engraved on the two coffins, memorized them in his mind, and immediately disappeared into this underground secret room. Just like the two coffins in Ben Wuding, the two coffins in the underground chamber also have inscriptions that reveal the identities of their owners. One of them reads 9-heart begonia, Guo Yan Douluo. The other reads White Emperor Sword Immortal, Chu Feng Douluo. Shortly after Dayan's left, 2 rays of light flew out of the small world in the coffin, quickly fled away, and disappeared in the underground chamber. Then, a figure covered in divine light appeared out of thin air in the underground chamber. He frowned and flew into the small world in the coffin to explore. In a moment, a violent explosion occurred in the small world. He escaped before being affected by the explosion, looking quite embarrassed. But there was no panic in his expression, only a kind of indifference like a machine. God's eyes flashed with blue light, and he hid a purple-red rune deep in his consciousness. In this way, even the God King could not detect the whereabouts of the rune. After that, his expression returned to normal and disappeared in the chamber. The holes of Yu Lingling and Lu Qifeng have also been filled. Chapter 662, Sudden Abyssal Creatures. Dayan's walked slowly outside Haixin City. There were large tracts of maple trees planted outside the city. Because it was not the season yet, the maple leaves were still green. He walked towards the maple forest, ready to take off directly to Shrek Academy after leaving the side of pedestrians. But when it was quiet and no one was around, his thoughts and actions slowed down, and he just walked alone in the maple forest. No one would disturb him, no one would see him, so he could think about some problems wholeheartedly. Lu Qifeng's words seemed to still echo in his ears, pulling him deeper into his memories. Yes, if you really like someone, then say it boldly and don't leave regrets for yourself. He also understood this truth. It's just that he never thought that he would fall in love with someone in this world. Maybe that's not love. It's just because when he was still an ignorant teenager, he felt sorry for the girl in the book who couldn't get the love he wanted, admired her for picking the acacia heartbroken red for her sweetheart, and lamented that she finally sacrificed for her sweetheart. Even so, she couldn't really be with her lover, so maybe she felt it was not worth it. Or maybe it was because she saved him from the demon eye tree when they first met in the Xingdao Great Forest. She saved him from the pursuit of the evil soul master, did not give up on him during the siege of the evil soul master, and even chose to perform the fate reception ceremony with him in order to save his life. Because of all these things, because of gratitude, he had a good impression of the girl. He hoped that she would not sacrifice herself like a moth to a flame in the original book. But in the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, she still picked the acacia heartbroken red. What was that feeling? It should be like Wang Qiu in the original book, watching Hou Yuhao drink the blazing yanquan even if he died, and picking the acacia heartbroken red for Wang Donzhi. Obviously, he had a lot of longing, but when he saw with his own eyes that he would never have a chance anyway, his heart was very cold. But his feelings were not that strong after all, it was still just a good impression. More than that, he still felt sorry for her. In the dark green maple forest, the young man stopped and looked up at the sky covered by lush green leaves. If you really like her, it's right to say it out loud. But he felt that he couldn't say that he liked her. There was no need to say it out loud. So, just try to prevent the sacrifice from happening. The girl finally transformed and came to the human world. She can't leave so easily before she has seen every corner of the world. He lowered his head again, lowered his eyes and sighed softly, and was about to turn on the flying soul guide to fly high into the sky. But at this moment, the future presented by time suddenly foreshadowed danger. With a thought, the martial spirit instantly possessed the body, and 6 circles of blood-red soul rings rose from the soles of his feet. The young man with the black stripes on his cheeks looked around vigilantly. The forest had become extremely gloomy at some point, and he faintly smelled an extremely fierce breath of destruction. If it is really the purest darkness and evil, if I pollute you into a creature of the abyss and then devour you, then your power should belong to me, right? A man gradually walked out of the shadows, wearing a black robe and with extremely fair skin. His face was handsome, but his eyes were pitch black, with no distinction between the whites and the pupils. They were full of crazy destructive thoughts, and even a glance at them was frightening. It's worth it that I risked being discovered by the God realm and followed your breath all the way from the abyss rift to here. Fortunately, your strength is not strong, otherwise I would really have a headache. With my current God level realm, can I really subdue you? The man laughed loudly, and what he said made Dayan's expression change instantly. Let's not talk about other things for now. The 2 words God level can already explain a lot of problems. And he also mentioned abyss in his words. What's going on? The man looked at Dayan's without saying anything and continued to smile. Human, if you know what's good for you, Just surrender and come back to the abyss with me. Cooperate with me, I can make you scream less miserably when I devour you, otherwise it won't end well." Dai Yun's expression darkened, and he waved his right hand lightly. A gray-black spear appeared out of thin air and was tightly held in his hand. The man raised his eyebrows slightly, looking a little surprised. "Is this a divine weapon? Why do you, a weak human, have a divine weapon? Is it related to the pure evil and darkness you possess?" "Yes, in this case, the more benefits I can get after devouring you, maybe I can even become the master of the abyss in one fell swoop." He raised his right hand, and a terrifying purple-black light condensed, and then slapped towards Dai Yun's. Dai Yun's expression was extremely solemn, because he sensed a fatal danger in the purple-black light. He no longer hesitated, kicked the ground with his legs, and jumped out like an arrow, stabbing the blue-silver spirit emperor spear in his hand forward. "HMPH, you think you can hurt me?" The man didn't dodge, and sneered as he shot out the purple-black light. He raised his hand to grab the tip of Dai Yun's spear. But the next second, his face changed drastically, because the gray-black spear pierced into his palm without any hindrance, passed through his forearm, and went straight to his heart. How is it possible? But after that, the spear's forward stabbing action also stopped, because the purple-black light he had shot out earlier had already landed on Dai Yun's. In an instant, Dai Yun sensed the breath of death. Fortunately, his remaining consciousness gave an order, and suddenly, time was reversed for him. He stood back to the position before the attack, looking at the man opposite with lingering fear. Although he saved his life, the blue-silver spirit emperor spear also returned to its original position with him, losing the opportunity to pierce the man's heart. The man looked grim, and the wound pierced by the blue-silver spirit emperor spear gradually healed. "What kind of weapon do you have that can actually break my defense?" Dai Yun glanced at the spear in his hand and recalled the conversation with Tang Liu before leaving the wooden house. The attack power is always a little higher than the defense power of the target? What if the target is the invincible golden body? If I use it, it is the gap between the god-level attack and the Soul Master's invincible golden body soul skills, and it is still absolutely breaking the defense. But if it is you can imagine the defense of the invincible golden body as -1. When you use it to attack the Soul Master using the invincible golden body, although the attack power is a little higher than the defense power, it is also 0, so if I use it, I can't break the defense of the invincible golden body, according to my estimation. That's right. In any case, all the special effects of this blue-silver spirit emperor spear are still extremely powerful. Even if the opponent is an abyss creature with suspected god-level strength, it can easily tear open his defense. No wonder Tang Liu gave this spear to him, because he had expected this moment. But even if he has a weapon that can hurt god-level abyss creatures, he doesn't have much chance of winning. Thanks to the friends who voted for recommendations and monthly tickets. Thank you for your support. I will continue to work hard. See you tomorrow. Watch Liu Feng's highlight moment tomorrow. Doge. Chapter 663 Yu Feng's 9th soul skill. It's a pity that I can't fully exert the power of this artifact with my hands. But I promise you that I will use it well after you die. The abyss creature made a classic villain declaration, and purple-black light condensed in his hand again. He strode towards Dai Yun and stretched out his hand to capture him alive. Dai Yun was shocked and quickly held the blue-silver spirit emperor spear across his body to protect himself. In the face of such a gap in strength, any means he used seemed pale and powerless. He could only hope that there would be some tricks left by Tang Liu on the blue-silver spirit emperor spear. The dangerous signal had already been transmitted through the contract, but no response was received for a long time, as if someone had forcibly cut off the communication with Kingaya and Jinshin without his knowledge. The abyss creature showed a sneer on his face, and when Dai Yun's nerves were completely unable to react, he flashed behind him and stretched out his hand to grab Dai Yun's cervical vertebrae. Dai Yun's pupils contracted violently, and he could not see the movements of the abyss creature at all. He could only sense the approaching breath of death. Time goes back. But it was too slow. When this thought came to his mind, the hand of the abyss creature was about to crush his cervical vertebrae. The lightless and silent realm wanted to be released, but it was suppressed by the purple-black light in the hand of the abyss creature and could only twist on his body. Under the threat of death, the surrounding space suddenly opened up countless cracks, swallowing all the surrounding objects into it and crushing them. Suddenly, a messy open space appeared in the maple forest. The abyss creature looked surprised. You still have the power of space, and you suddenly returned to your original position just now. Could it be that you are really the dark demon evil god tiger who has been reborn as a human? He captured Dian's, and the purple-black light in his hand had already suppressed his consciousness. But even so, the strange phenomenon that Dian set off when he was unconscious was still so powerful. If this continues, it may attract the attention of the god realm. I have to leave quickly, the abyss creature muttered to himself, raised his hand to cut open the space, and was about to step into it and escape. And this time was when he was most relaxed. A streak of sword light with an unstoppable momentum suddenly burst out from the unconscious Dian's, and in an instant, it cut off the hand of the abyss creature that was caught off guard. Dian's body flew far away, and a figure condensed by the sword light flew out of him, landed lightly, and stared at the abyss creature that lost an arm with a torch-like gaze. Looking at his face, it was Lu Qiufeng. No, it was Lu Qiufeng's sword consciousness. No one knew when Lu Qiufeng left his sword consciousness on Dian's. The abyss creature's arms began to grow again. He looked grim and coldly looked at Jianshi, who suddenly appeared. Who are you? Jianshi ignored him, but frowned and said, is this the destructive breath of the god level? Now that the god realm is still there, you dare to invade the world so boldly. Aren't you afraid that the god realm will send people to kill you? Tell me, which level of the abyss are you the emperor of? Since there's a god level realm, you should be one of the last 18 levels, right? The abyss creature smiled. I didn't expect you to know us so well. In this case, we can't let you stay. He suddenly jumped up, flashed in front of Jianshi, and condensed a palm with rich purple light to chop at Jianshi's head. Jianshi's eyes flashed with sword light, and he had already taken in every move of the abyss creature. He just took a half step back, put his left hand behind his back, and raised his right hand as a sword in front of him. With a crisp sound of ding, the abyss creature's handful of purple light was taken by a cold sword light. Jianshi snorted and took 3 steps forward. He swung his right hand, which was like a sword finger, down continuously. Every time, a sharp sword light flashed across, forcing the abyss creature to retreat again and again. In the last step, he swung his right hand heavily to his side. Several sword ki appeared out of thin air around the abyss creature, and cut through his body one after another in an instant, cutting his body into several pieces. But even so, the pieces of his body were still squirming on the ground, and soon they were put together again. It's useless. Although your sword is fast, it can't kill me, Jianshi smiled. I never thought I could kill you, because I am just a sword consciousness. After all, there was a trace of mockery in his eyes. Now, my sword ki has penetrated into your body. Even if you escape to the ends of the earth, a violent sound of breaking through the air came from afar, and the coldness came at an unimaginable speed. The sharp breath contained in it could easily cut people. The maple forest that stretched for dozens of miles suddenly came closer and closer. In an instant, the green leaves turned red like in late autumn. A strange light flashed in the sky, and then a crisp buzzing sound was heard. Boom! The thick smoke and dust suddenly exploded where the abyss creatures were, breaking all the surrounding maple trees. Jianshi waved his hand lightly, wiping away all the flying sand and rocks, revealing a terrifying deep pit. At the bottom of the pit, a snow-white long sword was quietly inserted. The hilt was like a maple leaf. Qiufeng. Hundreds of miles away, a few minutes ago, Lu Qiufeng and Yu Lingling, who had just escaped from the small world in the coffin, came to the top of a mountain. Lu Qiufeng floated in the air, raised his hand and waved it casually to cut off the top of the mountain. Countless sword ki swarmed out, crushing the gravel into dust that was invisible to the naked eye. He and Yi Lingling landed on the flattened peak, and several sword-shaped sword ki flew out, forming a sword formation around him. He sat cross-legged at the center of the peak, and Jiu Feng, who had been floating behind him, was now placed horizontally on his knees. His fingertips tapped the bright blade of Jiu Feng regularly, and the snow-white sword body made a crisp clanging sound. I have raised you for 10,000 years, and I thought I could compete with a sure-blood sword. But now I have to take action. What a pity, he sighed softly. Without the accumulation of 10,000 years, do you have no confidence in yourself? Not far away, Yi Lingling smiled. Lu Qiufeng smiled. That's not the case. I'm just curious, between me and the Shuri god, who has more murderous aura? A sharp and cold breath burst out from him, and circles of soul rings gradually climbed from under him, and then slowly shrank and merged into Jiu Feng on his knees. 10,000 years have passed, and the soul rings have already transformed again. The first soul ring that rose from under his body was a deep black color like ink. Sharp, and breaking, The first 3 soul skills most directly increase the strength of Jiu Feng's body. The sword body, sword flash, and sword heart of the 4th, 5th, and 6th soul rings, as well as the sword intent and sword ring of the 8th soul ring. Plus the 7th soul skill, the martial soul true body. Everything is just for the last 9th blood red soul ring. The time has come, the young man in white clothes hummed softly. The snow-white long sword on his knees also responded with a buzzing sound. Under the blessing of unimaginable majestic power, it gradually flew from the young man's knees to the sky, turning into a shocking cold light, tearing open the sky, tearing open the clouds, and crossing time and space in an instant. Like this. One sword maple red 10,000 miles. One sword light chills 14 states. Intercontinental missile, how cool, Doge. Chapter 664 If gods also have fear. I didn't expect that the sword I have raised for 10,000 years could still leave your soul behind. Are you creatures of the abyss too special, or is there something wrong with my swordsmanship? After picking up Jiu Feng, Jianxi looked at a small wisp of purple-black airflow not far away that was trying to escape through space, and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. However, this remaining soul was not a threat even to the god level, so he was about to swing Jiu Feng to kill it without any care. But before he raised Jiu Feng high, a ghostly figure suddenly stood silently at the place where the soul escaped, and mechanically stretched out his hand to grab it in his palm. The darkness flashed, and the struggling soul was swallowed up in an instant. The young man's eyes were dark, his face was covered with dark stripes, and every move revealed evil and treacherousness. It was Dianzi who stood up at some unknown time. Jianxi was a little surprised, and Jianmu had already seen through that the young man was still unconscious at this time. But why can he move so freely without consciousness, even more dangerous than when he's awake? The young man's dark eyes slowly turned to Jianxi, as deep and terrifying as an abyss or a prison. Jianxi immediately raised his sword to protect himself. Is this targeting him? But before the young man took a step and took action, a blue flame suddenly rose behind him. Then, a hand wrapped in pink mist stretched out and gently shook beside the young man's temple. The mist dispersed, the darkness in the young man's eyes instantly receded, and then he fainted on the ground. Jianxi looked at the young man after he fell, revealing a beautiful woman with a fox-like cunning and charming look. Your sword made too much noise, the god realm is sending people down, hurry up, Hulina said to Jianxi, with a blue flame door behind her that led to an unknown place. Jianxi quickly put away his sword, bowed to her and thanked her, then disappeared from the spot with Jiu Feng and returned to his body. Hulina also quickly pulled the fainted youth into the blue flame door and disappeared. On the top of the peak, Lu Qifeng quickly retracted his sword consciousness and Jiu Feng, then pulled Yi Lingling and trotted into the blue-black door next to him. Inside the door, everyone looked at them and waited for a long time. At this point, Rengxin and Shafixin also returned to their positions under guidance. God Realm Committee. Tang San listened to the report of the second-level god who returned from the exploration in the lower realm. It was still the same as the situation encountered by the last person who went to explore. In the latest small world, I found a ruin. There were words engraved on one of the walls. Not long after I read those words, I was forced to leave that small world by the explosion, the second-level god said, projecting the picture he saw with his mental power. Tang San looked at the illusory light and shadow, and his eyes swept over the small words on the broken walls. Living beings regard illusions as beauty. If death is no longer reasonable, what kind of existence will they be in awe of? He frowned, not sure what message this sentence was trying to convey. Still nothing. Go back and continue to observe the lower realm, he ordered. Yes, after the second-level god responded, he withdrew from the God Realm Committee. Another second-level god stepped forward, Lord Sea God. The amazing energy in the lower realm just now, should we send someone to investigate? Tang San now felt a little annoyed, and responded casually, go, if there is an evil plane born, just purify and destroy it. Humans have always dreamed of immortality. If dreams become reality, death will no longer have any meaning. At this time, who will they still feel an irresistible fear of? The unknown outside the world? This is what the previous god kings feared, otherwise they would not have so strongly asked him to do it himself. What is his fear? Is it you? Am I afraid that you will crawl out of hell one day to kill me? Is it the question you threw to me? It's still the same position. The god of destruction absorbed the mysterious power from the second-level gods who returned from the lower realm, allowing his own divine power to be further strengthened. Then he controlled the second-level god, took out the purple-red rune from the depths of his consciousness, and threw it into the land of the god realm, thinning the barriers of the god realm again. One more is missing, he whispered, and his figure turned into purple smoke and disappeared. The second-level god also woke up from his daze and flew to his own territory. Dai Yun saw the face of a beautiful woman in a trance. She waved her hand, her lips opened and closed, as if she was saying something. "Come, follow me." Oh, he woke up instantly and said in surprise, "It's you," the beautiful woman teased. "Oh, you still remember me? It seems that your brain is not broken." Dai Yun supported his body with his hands, sat on the ground, and supported his forehead with the other hand. "Why am I here?" He was not alert. Although he didn't know the real name of this woman, she had appeared beside Tang Liu in the Mingdao Mountains after all, so they were in the same group. The woman put her hands behind her back, stood up and looked at the river not far away. "Well, of course we took you away from there in time. Otherwise, you would have been captured by the gods in the sky now, you guys." Dai Yun stood up from the ground and looked in the direction of her gaze. He saw two grown men fishing in the river with their trousers rolled up. They couldn't catch anything and started a water fight with each other in frustration. The woman couldn't help but laugh softly, looked at Dai Yun's again, and raised her eyebrows and said, "As you can see, we were on vacation, but suddenly received a mission to rescue you, so we had to end our vacation in a hurry and come here. Why don't you show any gratitude? And it seems that you are very suspicious of us." Dai Yun hurriedly said, "Sorry, I didn't mean that. I'm just curious about what happened. After all, it was a god-level abyss creature that attacked me." The woman's lips curled up. "Ask me, I don't know. We are responsible for bringing you here, but how to save you from that guy, you have to ask Lu Qifeng." Dai Yun was thoughtful. "Is it related to Lu Qifeng?" At this time, the woman stretched out a hand again, and pointed in one direction with her lush fingertips. "This place is not too far from Shrek. Just keep walking over there. Since there is nothing else to do, please don't disturb our hard-earned vacation." "Thank you," Dai Yun nodded, "but I don't know your names yet." The woman waved her hand and smiled. "I'm just an unknown office worker. Names are not important. But shouldn't you hurry back to Shrek? Otherwise, the crabapple flower on your body will wither." Dai Yun then remembered this extremely important matter. His expression changed, and said, "Then I'll take my leave first, and see you later. Goodbye. But I don't really want to meet you again, otherwise there will definitely be troubles about you to deal with." The woman smiled brightly. Dai Yun's Chapter 665 Anchor Hulina. After watching Dai Yun's fly away, Hulina relaxed her hands hidden behind her back, raised them in front of her, and posed in front of the camera. "My dear family, the handsome guy I picked up on the road has left. It is said that he is going to Shrek, the first academy in the mainland. Do you want to go and have a look?" After that, she carefully read the barrage sent on the screen, and smiled. It seems that everyone is also very curious about that school. In this case, let's go there to visit next stop. Follow me so that you won't get lost. Today's live broadcast ends here. See you next time. Bye. After turning off the live broadcast skillfully, Hulina looked at the two people who had taken off their clothes in the river to compete in swimming. Anger veins instantly appeared on her forehead. "You two guys, why did you take off your clothes without even saying hello? Didn't you see that I was still live? What if my account is blocked because of you two?" She hurriedly ended today's live broadcast because she saw the two people in the river who were not doing their job and not observing male ethics. Otherwise, with the extreme curiosity of the people over there, she could have gained another 5-digit followers today. She is the first and only one who has shown the situation here to the people over there. Moreover, she is not afraid of being blocked for broadcasting the content of this continent, because she came here to explore in an official capacity. However, the situation of the other continent will not be blocked, but if she does not observe male ethics in front of so many viewers in the live broadcast room, she will definitely be locked in a small black room. Didn't you see that she was dressed so tightly, not even showing her arms? As a result, the two guys in the river did not feel the seriousness of the matter at all, and still looked at her with a frivolous smile. "Damn, I really want to leave these two guys and go it alone. If it weren't for Yan's flame being upgraded by Tang Liu and having the ability to teleport anywhere." Oh, of course, if the review is not so strict, Hulina, a humble microblogger, shed tears and punched and kicked the reviewer. In short, the three of them had a good vacation. It's just that Douluo continent may not be peaceful soon. Dai flew at full speed for an hour before he could see the outline of Shrek City from afar. It seemed that this trip didn't take too much time, but time told him that 5 days had passed since he left Shrek. According to the normal progress, Hao would not wake up from his coma for another 5 days. But now, as long as he returned to Shrek before the crabapple flower withered, he might be able to wake Hao up immediately. He increased his speed a little, but when he was about to reach the range of Shrek City, he still landed from the air to avoid being regarded as an enemy by the Shrek City Defense Force. However, although he could only walk, his speed was still not slow, and with a space transmission that he had never heard of, he finally stood in front of Hao's room in the Sea God Pavilion. After knocking on the door, the person who opened the door was indeed Tang Wutong, who had been taking care of Hao for the past 2 days. After seeing the figure outside the door, Tang Wutong showed a look of surprise. "You are back, after all." They had long discovered that Dai was missing for so many days. According to Elder Zhuan, he was out doing something important. Dai nodded slightly and took out a jade box from his storage soul guide. "I went out to get some medicine for you, Hao." Tang Wutong walked with him to Hao's bedside, looked at the jade box in his hand, then looked at Hao who was still unconscious on the bed, and asked, "What is it? Can it speed up Hao's recovery?" Dai opened the jade box, and immediately, the room was filled with a heartwarming fragrance. "This is..." Tang Wutong looked at the white begonia flower slowly floating up from the jade box in surprise. "Is it the 9-heart begonia? Did you go to Haxin City specifically and meet the 9-heart begonia spirit master?" "Yes, it's a pity that Hao's current condition does not allow him to move much, otherwise I would have taken him directly to the 9-heart begonia spirit master instead of just bringing back a begonia flower. But with this begonia flower, it is enough for him to recover faster." Dai nodded, watching the white flower bloom with a soft halo and fall on Hao. The healing ability of the 9-heart begonia is extremely powerful. When it reaches the 9th ring, it can even bring back the dead and turn bones into flesh. Not to mention, the one he brought back was from the 9-heart begonia spirit master 10,000 years ago. Dai didn't know what level Yilingling's current realm was, but he believed that if Yilingling was here, then Hao's injury would not be a big deal. Tang Wutong looked at Dai with gratitude and disbelief. Because the 9-heart begonia soul master is not someone you can meet whenever you want. He is a sensitive person who is followed by countless strong men wherever he is. Unless some major rescue work requires him to be present, the 9-heart begonia soul master generally does not show up in front of people. Because no matter who it is, they definitely want to be cured by the 9-heart begonia himself. If the 9-heart begonia soul master takes on all the healing work, he would have been exhausted long ago, and it might even cause a chaotic scene with countless patients coming one after another. There can only be 2 9-heart begonia soul masters in the world at the same time. If all the 9-heart begonia soul masters are accidentally killed, how can there be such a good martial spirit to heal people's injuries? Naturally, the 9-heart begonia soul master has become the key protection object of all forces. The significance of Dai being able to meet the 9-heart begonia soul master and ask for a 9-heart begonia is naturally self-evident. Seeing that the healing power in the begonia flower has successfully taken effect and is about to be exhausted, Dai finally breathed a sigh of relief. He put away the jade box and said to Tang Wutong, "He will probably wake up soon. Please continue to take care of him then." Tang Wutong nodded, first said thank you, then asked doubtfully, "Aren't you waiting for him to wake up? Hao must want to see you when he wakes up." Dai smiled at her, then fell silent. Somehow, Tang Wutong saw indescribable bitterness in that smile just now. He walked to the door, turned around and said to Tang Wutong who was looking at him, "Don't think that we seem to get along well now." The young man's tone was melancholy and helpless. "Maybe one day when he knows the truth, he will hate me as much as he hates the White Tiger Duke. Even so, I don't blame him. Because I made the wrong choice first, and I was the first to abandon our home. From then on, I was only suitable to watch him silently in the dark. It was a helpless coincidence that he saw my identity twice in a row. Now, there is someone in the world who cares about him in every way. It's good, and I am relieved." Tang Wutong was silent, listening to everything the young man said. "So, when he wakes up, please tell him, Dai died many years ago, the one who appears in Shrek now and wants to fight on behalf of Shrek. It's Dai Aid." I actually wanted to write this chapter in the style of a forum, but considering the timeline in the article, I gave up and simply put it in the preface. It's roughly like this: host Xianhu, family members, the handsome guy I picked up on the road has left. It is said that he is going to Shrek, the #1 academy in the mainland. Do you want to go and have a look? Netizen A, is it the Shrek that trained the Shrek 7 devils? Netizen B, Sister Xianhu, you're killing me. I can suck up this face for a whole year. Netizen C, I can just pick up a handsome guy? I want to have this kind of luck, thank you. Netizen D, it is said that there is a statue of the late Emperor Daimube in Shrek? I really want to see it in person. Netizen E, think about it. Sister Xianhu, go quickly. Netizen F, but, look at the 2 people in the river behind. Netizen G, ew, why did you start taking off your clothes? Netizen C, this figure is so. Netizen B, husband. Netizen H, where's the male ritual? Where is the dignity? Where is the address? Netizen G, Kuchizi Fife, a series of Kuchizi disappearance speeches. Netizen A, are you focusing on the wrong thing? Netizen Z, oh, I tripped over everyone's pants as soon as I came in. Netizen Hulina, that's about it. Cyrillic letter Z, thank you to the friends who voted for recommendations and monthly tickets. See you tomorrow. Chapter 666. Before the competition. Daiyun's left. But just as he estimated, Ho Yuhao woke up from his coma soon after. Tang Wutong hurried over, her face full of surprise. Yuhao, you're awake. The white crabapple flowers had already exhausted their healing energy and scattered into the purest bits of light. Ho Yuhao whispered to comfort Tang Wutong, who couldn't help crying. When she finally stopped crying and put on her most beautiful smile, which was also his favorite, he couldn't help but look at the door. Perhaps, he had actually woken up earlier. Holding the green fairy grass in his hand, he raised his head and poured the dew on the green leaves into his mouth. The cool feeling quickly entered his body, along the blood vessels all the way up, until it all flowed into his eyes, soaking his eyes with warmth. After a brief loss of consciousness, his consciousness spontaneously entered the sea of spirituality, watching the sea of consciousness, which was originally only the size of a lake, gradually expanding outward under the effect of the warm medicine, until it became an ocean with no edge in sight. The vast sea has no boundaries. The green herbs quickly withered into ashes in his hands, leaving only a few small seeds. He looked at the embers of the Wangchuan Kiashudu and pondered. Just one plant, which was not even the best immortal product, could directly improve his mental power to the boundless sea. And now he still had one plant in his hand. If he continued to take it, could he also improve his mental power to the tangible and intangible realm? It was obvious that his body was no longer suitable for taking any immortal herbs in a short period of time. That would only waste most of the medicinal power in vain, which would not be worth the loss. But when he asked Yaoxiang Kilo for the 3 immortal herbs at the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, he had already thought of everything. Wangchuan Kiashudu can improve his spiritual eyes and mental power, and Kirin Tongshin Chrysanthemum can strengthen his god-devouring evil eye white demon tiger that mutated from the evil eye white tiger. But Kirin Tongshin Chrysanthemum did not intend to take it himself. After all, he had just used a plant of Wangchuan Kiashudu. That was the immortal product he prepared for King Gaia. Apart from himself, no one was more suitable than King Gaia to take the Kirin Tong Xianju. According to the contractual relationship, the enhancement King Gaia obtained through the Kirin Tong Xianju would also be fed back to him at the same time, which could perfectly solve the problem that he could not take too many immortal products at one time. As for the other plant of Wangchuan Kiashulu, Daiyun's mind moved, and a gray-silver eyeball with several tentacles left his body and appeared in his room. It was his 80,000-year-old evil eye tyrant soul. He took out another plant of Wangchuan Kiashulu and smiled at the evil eye tyrant. Come here. I'll give you a few drops of eye drops that are particularly effective. Evil eye tyrant, the competition is coming. Under the joint training of Daiyun's and Wang Kitor, the temporary representative team of Shrek finally looked like a participating team. The overall fighting will increased rapidly, and the soul power level also increased rapidly in the past 2 months. Not long ago, Ho Yuhao also recovered from his injuries and stored the ultimate ice world energy in his legs and left arm. At the cost of 3 of his limbs being unable to move. He recovered 80% of his overall strength and represented the Tang sect in the competition with his companions. This morning, Daiyun's received news that the Tang sect had already set off from Mingdu. Because the Shrek 7 devils represented the Tang sect, They would not receive any assistance from Shrek. But Dai Yun's and his team were different. They would have a powerful commander to lead the team to Mingdu and could reach the Sun Moon Empire much faster than the Tang sect. Naturally, they had not set off yet. But today was also the last day of training. Under Dai Yun's mandatory requirements, both the regular team and the reserve team were now quite proficient in using the soul guides he designated, and could even be highly integrated with their own fighting methods. 4 soul masters like Dai Huolbin and Wu Feng, who were not authorized to fight in close combat, the controlled soul guide cannons that Dai Yun's asked them to prepare made up for their own shortcomings and made them more comfortable in frontal combat. Moreover, after so long, everyone's strength has improved after being equipped with soul guides. Those players who were reluctant but had to cooperate due to Dai Yun's dominance have become really good. Today's training ends here. Everyone will have a good rest. We will gather at the entrance of the academy early tomorrow morning and set off to compete in Mingdu. Dai Yun's took back the blue-silver spirit Emperor spear, looked at the students in front of him with a cold expression, and said, "From the overall strength of their team, it is far inferior to the Shrek 7 Devils. After all, there are 4 Soul Emperors among the Shrek 7 Devils, which is 2 more than the previous session. Moreover, Bibai, Su Sanchi, and Keitao are all Soul Emperors close to level 70. Here, the high-end combat power can only be supported by him and Wang Kitter. However, with the assistance of those soul guides, I believe that even if they can compare, they will not fall behind too much. Especially when their opponents are strong teams such as the Sun and Moon Royal Soul Guide Academy, the Body Sect, and the Xingluo National Academy. The chances of winning in a one-on-one match will not be too low." With the prestige that Dai Yun's had accumulated over such a long time, all the students quickly gathered and dispersed in 2s and 3s. And tomorrow they would represent Shrek Academy to participate in the competition. Even though he had become more and more calm after 2 months of training, he could not help but feel a little excited. But compared with the excitement on their faces, Dai Yun's did not have much joy. Because he knew that the situation of this competition was not simple, and there was a conspiracy of the Sun Moon Empire hidden in secret. What's more, there was the Holy Spirit Church. If they met the representative team of the Holy Spirit Church, he clenched his fist and looked into the distance. He just hoped that his identity would not be exposed during the competition. Mingyu Hotel. This hotel is where the Sun Moon Empire entertains contestants. It is the best hotel in Mingdu. Not long ago, the Tang sect had come to the lobby on the first floor and were waiting to register under the guidance of the staff. But when it was their turn, Ho Yuheo suddenly caught a glimpse of a familiar figure and exclaimed, "Teacher Xiaoya." Everyone in the Tang sect looked in the direction he was looking at. In an instant, Bei, who was shocked, could not help but rush out. But just as he was about to reach the thin girl, a figure wearing a ferocious tiger mask, a black robe and a hood suddenly blocked Bei and the girl. The man just raised one hand and easily stopped Bei's forward figure. Even his palm did not touch Bei's figure. "Stop!" A dull and magnetic male voice came from under the mask. Bei felt the invisible barrier in front of him and was a little surprised, but the person he was thinking about was right in front of him. How could he be willing to be stopped like this? His expression was a little angry, and golden lightning flashed in his eyes. "Get out of the way!" He suppressed the anger in his tone and shouted in a low voice. Chapter 667 Mingdu participates in the competition. But the masked man was not threatened. Instead, Bei himself, from the eyes as dark as the night behind the black-faced fang mask, suddenly sensed the deadly danger. He heard the man chuckle, "Don't overestimate your own abilities." A thunderous roar sounded in the daytime, and several pale lightning bolts instantly struck outside the hotel. The thick and sticky lightning element was like a swamp. All the people trapped in it suddenly felt numb and tingling on their skin, and a strange buzzing sounded in their ears. The hair of some weaker cultivators even stood up. Under such a powerful heavenly power, Bei's figure could not help but retreat several steps back, looking at the fierce black-robed man with a horrified face. "Demon Tiger," the girl's pleasant and crisp voice sounded. She glanced coldly at the terrified Tang sect people, especially Bei who had just been forced back by the fierce black-robed man. It was like looking at a group of extremely rude strangers, disgusted and cold. Why bother with a group of ordinary people who don't know what's good for them? It's a waste of your great strength. The thunder and lightning outside the hotel stopped for a moment, and the sky returned to a clear sky. The fierce-looking black-robed man glanced at Bei, put down his right hand that had been raised at some point, and the surging lightning on it gradually dissipated. Then I'll listen to you, Lanian. He walked back to the team and stood beside the girl, as if showing that he was equal to the girl. Let them go for now. We'll see what happens on the field, under the leadership of this fierce-looking black-robed man. This team, whose outfits were a bit strange and whose temperament was even colder and harder to approach, disappeared into the depths of the hotel. It seemed that they had already completed the registration work. Bibai looked at the girl's back unwillingly and shouted loudly, "Xiaoya!" He wanted to catch up, but was stopped by Su Sanchi in time. "Big brother, don't be impulsive." The person standing next to them just now was Scorpion Tiger Douluo Zhangpeng, which means they are most likely from the Holy Spirit Church. Teacher Xiaoya must have been controlled by them, otherwise how could she not recognize you? Ho Yuhao hurriedly comforted him, but as he spoke, he couldn't help but think of the fierce-looking black-robed man just now. Especially the lightning that was jumping between his palms. It was very familiar, as if it had been seen before. It was really too similar. Under the comfort of everyone, Bibai had calmed down again. He nodded and said, "I was too impulsive just now. Let's go sign up first. We'll talk about Xiaoya's matter later. In any case, it's good to make sure Tang Liu is still alive. It's just that the celestial phenomenon caused by the man's attack just now. Is this the strength of the Holy Spirit Church? Fortunately, you helped me out in time, otherwise I really don't know how to face him." In the hotel room of the Holy Spirit sect, seeing that there was no one else around, Tang Liu said to the fierce-looking black-robed man with lingering fear. "I just don't know why." The black-robed man who was so powerful outside just now seemed a little strangely silent at this time. Tang Liu couldn't help but speak again. "Dayuns." The black-robed man seemed to come back to his senses. After saying "oh," he responded, "Nothing, just a small matter. But we will inevitably contact them again in the future, and I can't always be with you, so you must control your emotions and don't accidentally reveal the truth. Zhongli Wu is now in Mingdu, so be careful that he is always monitoring us." Tang Liu nodded and said, "I understand," but she couldn't help but think about Bibai's appearance, and the group of Tang sect members behind him at that time. They are representing Tang sect to participate in the competition, right? That's great. Hold on for a while, and wait until we have eroded the entire Holy Spirit Church. Tang Ye's eyes were also very determined. Yes, Mingyu Hotel, top floor. As the champion of the previous competition, the Shrek team was naturally arranged by the Sun and Moon Empire officials to the top floor of the hotel, which is also the best suite. Among them, the facilities for rest and entertainment are all complete, which were obtained by the Shrek 7 Devils for the representative team in the last competition. When Zhou Sichen, Xiao Jingsun and other team members were curiously visiting the suite, Dayuns, as the team leader, huddled in his room, sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, not knowing whether he was meditating or doing something else. Not long after, he opened his eyes and let out a long sigh. At present, it seems that the disguise is still going well, and Zhongli Wu and others have not discovered the clues. In this way, he can also take Shrek to participate in the competition with confidence. According to the rules of this competition, as the champions of the last competition, they will be given a bye in the first round of eliminations and directly advance to the next round. This is also a little bit of the Sun and Moon Empire's petty thoughts. After all, this is their own territory. On the first day, the first game, naturally let the Sun and Moon Royal Soul Instructor Academy show a good show, and don't want Shrek to steal the limelight. Since the sects are allowed to participate in this competition, the total number of teams is much more than the previous session. After discussion by the organizing committee of the competition, it was decided to draw lots for the elimination round until the top 32 are decided. Even the teams allowed to participate will be stronger than the previous one, because this time the Sun Moon Empire restricts each participating team to have a cultivation level of at least 4 rings, otherwise there will be more forces coming. In short, judging from the original work, this competition will not be easy, especially since the two giants, the Holy Spirit Church and the Body Sect, are hidden in each participating team. They all have at least one Soul Saint team member, not to mention whether there is any possibility of any changes, resulting in some teams having more Soul Saint level contestants that have not been mentioned in the original work. After having a martial soul true body, it can be said that the gap between them and ordinary soul masters has been completely opened up, and they are the opponents they should pay the most attention to. After all, although Dayuns is now at level 70, he does not have the 7th soul ring. and the spirit martial soul he is going to use for the competition currently has only 5 soul rings. As for the various abilities of the second martial soul, they cannot be revealed from the identity of Dai 8 in any case. With Zhongli Wu watching the game, he will never do anything that may expose his identity. Perhaps the only benefit is that if they represent Shrek in the competition, as the champions of the previous competition, they can skip the registration process and participate directly. As long as they are sure that their age is indeed under 20 years old, no one will care what level of soul power they have. Therefore, his soul power of level 70 is an extremely effective trump card hidden in the dark. Now let's wait for the competition to begin. Dai Yuns listened to the laughter of the reserve team outside the door, walked to the window and looked at the prosperous scene of Mingdu below. The trajectory of time has not changed. In other words, when this year's All-Continent Youth Advanced Soul Master Elite competition is coming to an end, this prosperous scene will temporarily disappear. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 668 Another Game. The Tang sect successfully passed the first round of eliminations and defeated a sect called Dylanman. Hou Hao also successfully abducted the sect's young master, Nan Kiu, a Rouge Dragon Spirit Master with a strange annihilation attribute. However, these are not really important things. What is important is how Hou Hao participated in the battle on the stage. After all, he did not have the help of the little snow girl at this time, and even his actions on the stage were a bit difficult. The Snow Emperor is now a real third fierce beast. If Hou Hao dared to release the Snow Emperor to fight, he would probably be immediately spotted by Long Xiaoyao and Zhongli Wu in the stands. But even without the little snow girl, Hou Hao could easily deal with the members of Dylanman with his extremely strong mental power. Although the process was a little different, he finally killed Dylanman by himself. The battle on the first day was not bad. The more intense battles were actually between the participating teams with equal strength. Many participating players were already injured. As the participating teams are gradually eliminated, the future competitions will become more and more dangerous. Although Shrek had a bye in the first round, at the request of Dai Yuns and the team leader, the senior sister Zhang Lexuan, the Shrek players still went to watch the game. When they saw that someone almost died on the field, they realized how correct Dai Yuns' decision was to have them all equipped with defensive soul guides. Those who almost suffered casualties were all from some traditional sects that were very opposed to soul guides and did not equip their disciples with any soul guides at all. After watching the battle, these young students also basically saw the cruelty of the game and became more and more calm, just like the reserve team and others 5 years ago. However, at that time, Hou Hao also paid special attention to the Holy Spirit sect that participated in the war in the name of the Holy Spirit sect, and confirmed that the players of this team were all evil soul masters. What puzzled him was that these cruel and bloodthirsty evil soul masters could actually restrain themselves from killing in the game. Why? At present, this seems to be a question without an answer for the time being. But finally, the Shrek team, which everyone is looking forward to, took the field to participate in the battle. But this happened 3 days later. Because there were so many participating teams, the first round of eliminations took 3 days to finish. So far, only 84 teams were left out of the 167 participating teams, 56 of which were from sects. In the second round of eliminations, Shrek will appear in the first round and fight against a sect representative team called Xianjia sect. Shrek has always been famous, even in the Sun and Moon Empire. Naturally, when they appeared in the waiting area, they still attracted cheers from the audience. The 7 people who walked into the waiting area were Wen Kidwer, Dai Hulbin, Wu Feng, Zhi Huanyu, Ning Don, Zulu and Xiao Jingxuan. The Tang sect looked around and found Dai Yuns in the rest area exclusive to Shrek. Su Sanchi was a little surprised that Dai 8 is not going to play. Can we win with these 7? Hou Hao also glanced at the rest area of Shrek, and then turned his eyes back to the waiting area, saying, "Don't underestimate them, third brother. Wang Kidwer's strength is enough to defeat the 7 people of Xianjia sect alone. Now this arrangement should be to let each of them adapt to the battle first." Sure enough, Dai Hulbin was the first to play. After playing 2 games in a row, he jumped off the stage again and Wu Feng took the stage. This rotation continued until all 6 people of Xianjia sect lost in the individual elimination match and the match was dragged into the team match. But in the team match, the 7 people of Xianjia sect actually performed a 7-in-1 martial solo combination skill, which was eye-opening. At the same time, Ho Yuheo couldn't help but cast his eyes on the young man who had been sitting upright in the rest area of Shrek, but his expression was quite calm. There was no surprise. They must have known in advance that the Xianjia sect had similar means, and they had absolute confidence in the 7 people on the field, so they were so calm at this time. Indeed, although the 7-in-1 combination skills were very powerful, they were still no match for Wang Kidwer, who had the 7 treasures glazed tower as amplification, and Xiao Jingxun played a significant role in it. The whole game did not take much time, and it was completely over under Wang Kidwer's overwhelming offensive with a golden dragon spear in hand. Shrek successfully advanced. The second round of the Tang sect's elimination match was on the afternoon of the second day, and they would compete with a sect called the Iron Sword sect. Looking at the rest area of Shrek, I saw the Shrek regulars and reserve team led by Wang Kidwer, but I didn't find the figure of the young man among them. I don't know when the game will go on before I can see him take action. The game started. Today, the Tang sect imitated Shrek's tactics yesterday, sending people up to play 2 games one by one and then changing people, ensuring that everyone can maintain combat status, and finally pulling the schedule into a team battle. The combat power of the Shrek 7 Devils is indeed very strong. In the team battle, even relying on Su Sanchi, Jiang Nanan, and Xiao Xiao, the rest of the people did not make much of a move. Relying on Ho Yuheo's spiritual detection, the battle was quickly ended. It can be said that when the Shrek 7 Devils gathered together, they were an invincible team in the world at the same level of strength. The Tang sect also successfully advanced. Before really facing the Sun and Moon Royal Soul Master Academy, the Holy Spirit Church, and the Body sect, it can be said that this all-continent high-level Soul Master Academy fighting soul competition was not the focus. More importantly, there was another game that had already been going on in the dark in Mingdu. The Mingdu Soul Master Elite Competition was a Soul Master competition jointly organized by the 3 major underground forces in Mingdu, Zishu League, Pingfin League, and Aodu Chamber of Commerce. It was a bright and dark competition with the current All-Continent Youth High-Level Soul Master Elite Competition, which was previously called the All-Continent High-Level Soul Master Academy Fighting Soul Competition, and it shined in the eyes of those who knew about it. This kind of competition is a gambling game used by the 3 major underground forces to earn a lot of gambling money. However, the Soul Masters who participate in it can obtain a lot of rare metal resources by winning each round. And the rewards will be doubled as they continue to advance. The Tang sect has been lacking rare metals in its recent development. In this case, Ho Yuheo will naturally not miss this great opportunity. He brought He Tao, Tang Wutuang, and Nana, who he had saved when studying at the Sun Moon Royal Soul Master Academy, and changed his appearance and secretly came to participate in the competition. After considering many aspects, Ho Yuheo decided to participate in the competition from Zishu League, so the purpose of their trip was the preliminary venue of Zishu League, a hotel called King's. However, since the preliminaries are about to end, it is not so easy to get in at this time, so Ho Yuheo used the money offensive. Of course, they will be the ones who make a lot of money in the end. The person in charge soon appeared and took them to the competition with a smile. I don't know what you two are called. My eldest brother is Tang Si, and I am Tang Wu. Thank you to the friends who voted for recommendations and monthly tickets. Thank you for your support. See you tomorrow. Chapter 669 Confusion. Feng Ling shook the red wine glass and glanced at the entrance of the hotel. 4 people came there at some point. One of them was in a wheelchair. The servant just reported that it was the Soul Master who suddenly bet a huge amount of gold soul coins on himself and wanted to participate in the competition midway. She looked back and looked at the black-robed man with a fierce mask opposite. The Holy Sun seems to be very interested in those people. What, do you know them? Under the mask, he cast a dark look like the Abyss at her, and then Feng Ling heard the man opposite chuckle softly. The deputy leader is really in a good mood. He is about to get drunk but still has the energy to pay attention to me. Feng Ling smiled with her lips curled, her graceful body leaned forward, and one hand was placed horizontally on the table. You haven't answered my question yet, Holy Sun. After speaking, she raised her head and took another sip of red wine, but whether intentionally or unintentionally, a stream of blood red wine flowed down the corner of her lips, flowing through her white neck and delicate collarbone, all the way into the forbidden ravine below, drawing a tempting but deadly line. The deputy leader has a higher level of cultivation than me, so his hearing should be better than mine. Didn't you just hear that young man in the wheelchair so confidently saying that he would help your Zishu League win the championship? The guy who dares to say such a thing is either a clown who overestimates his own abilities or a truly talented genius. Isn't the deputy leader interested? Feng Ling placed the wine glass on the table casually, and the little remaining wine swayed violently, splashing a little on the edge of the glass. I am not interested in these falsehoods that I have not witnessed with my own eyes, she said, getting up and staggering towards the fierce-looking black-robed man, with a slight curl of her lips and a blurred look in her eyes. On the contrary, it is still the supreme noble body of you, the Holy Son, that attracts me more. She knelt on one knee beside the fierce-looking black-robed man, supporting her head with one hand, and the tip of one finger quietly stroked his chest, all the way up, gently hooked over his Adam's apple, and gently pinched his cold and hard chin into her palm. But before that, the fierce-looking black-robed man had raised his hand to grab her wrist, and stopped her fingertips just an inch before his chin. Feng Ling took advantage of the situation and pressed directly against him, with her other hand on his strong waist, and her left leg had already stretched forcefully between his strong thighs. She leaned over, her graceful body trying to fit with the black-robed man, and her red lips trying to kiss the ferocious mask. Deputy leader, the fierce-looking black-robed man's other hand had already grabbed Feng Ling's wide and fragile neck without knowing when. If you want me to crush your throat now, you can continue. His voice was a little sarcastic, and it came out faintly through the mask. Feng Ling completely ignored it and continued to forcefully move down, and gray and strange evil flames emerged from her body. Especially at the neck, the flames were so strong that they could easily burn a person's skin and flesh. But the fierce-looking black-robed man's hand was not affected at all, and even allowed the gray flames to coil around his arm and move upwards. He suddenly turned over, pinched Feng Ling's throat, and pressed her back on the sofa. Gray flames gathered spontaneously in his other raised hand, condensing into a terrifying fireball in his palm. It's really funny, Deputy Leader. If Leader Zhongli saw his wife like this now, I wonder what he would think. The black-robed man's tone was mocking, and he attracted all the evil fire on Feng Ling's body into his hand, compressing it into a gray-black round bead. I even dared to betray Yan Xiao's from Shrek, let alone him. Feng Ling smiled charmingly. Besides, I am the evil phoenix, and you, the Holy Son, are the king of all the evil in the world. I should be attached to you. A low laugh came from under the fierce face, contemptuous and sarcastic. I'm afraid that you think your position is not secure because you see that he is accompanied by the blue-silver saint, right? The woman whose throat was strangled froze. The black-robed man laughed mockingly even louder. Do you think I will easily believe you, Deputy Leader? He began to tighten his grip on Feng Ling's neck until she began to struggle. I am not like you, the low-class people who are immersed in sin, depraved by desire, and can only see the present. I am sin itself, the ultimate destination of your desires, the most evil of all evils, and your God. I was born to be the pinnacle of this world, and now I just happen to be interested in cooperating with you. So, let Zhongli Wu take back his tricks as soon as possible, and don't annoy me. He is still my respected leader, and I am still his son of the Holy Spirit Church. He let go of Feng Ling's neck, but the next moment he pinched her cheek and forced her to open her mouth. If there is another time for this presumptuous temptation today, he slowly put the gray-black round bead formed by a large amount of evil flames in his other hand into Feng Ling's wide-open mouth. No matter how much she struggled, she could not defy the control of the ultimate evil. It won't be as simple as it is now. He smiled evilly and coldly. After watching the gray-black round bead being swallowed by Feng Ling, he suddenly snorted coldly, let go and turned around, and walked away with his black robe fluttering. The evil phoenix flame that was compressed to the extreme suddenly erupted. Even with Feng Ling's cultivation level of 97, her body trembled violently at this moment. She couldn't help but groan, and a trace of blood slowly flowed from the corner of her mouth. This was because she was the owner of the evil phoenix flame, otherwise the injury just now would be more serious, or even directly cost her life. She raised her hand to wipe the blood from the corner of her lips, looking at the direction where the black-robed man left, her eyes flickering. Just as he said just now, all her previous actions were a test under the instructions of Zhongli Wu. Now the test has been completed. The Son of God, still the Son of God. Her expression returned to indifference, as if the person who had just disregarded decency to seduce the Son of God was not her. But this Son of God was really strong. Even with her cultivation level of 97, she couldn't break free from his hand, as if there was a strange power suppressing everything about her. Is this the ultimate evil? I hope the leader can suppress him in the future. With the strength of Hou Hao and He Tao, it is naturally quite easy to deal with this qualifying competition. Even if they competed at the end of the competition, they still completed the production of a third-level soul guide much faster than those who remained on the field. Afterwards, Hou Hao used the means of necromancy to kill a person, confirming that he and He Tao were evil soul masters, so that the people of Zishu League would no longer doubt their identities, and would not associate Tang Wu with the identity of Hou Hao because of the feature of sitting in a wheelchair. The 4 people who came here left the King's Hotel together again. Now they only need to come to participate in the competition every night in the future. The plan is going smoothly. But on the way back to Mingyu Hotel, they encountered an accident. Hou Hao is not sure whether it will cause them trouble. Chapter 670 Brutal. A familiar black-robed man was standing not far away, wearing a ferocious black mask on his face. He held a man's throat tightly with his palm, and easily pressed him against the wall and lifted him up high. Who gave you the courage to follow me all the way here? A low and fierce voice came from under the mask, looking at the man who was struggling desperately with his neck grabbed, as if admiring the fear on his face. He snorted coldly, threw the man heavily onto the street, and when the man tried hard to get up from the ground, his feet wearing black boots stepped on the man tightly on the ground, and his face came into extremely close contact with a concrete street. Even if I caught you, you still don't want to say it? What a touching loyalty. He opened his palm, and one of the hands of the man who was stepped on the ground was raised uncontrollably and fell into his palm. Crack, with a crisp sound, the man's hand twisted unnaturally and was broken by the fierce black-robed man. At the same time, the screams of the man on the ground were heard. Does it hurt? He gently held the man's broken hand, as if he was playing with a work of art. But the next moment, he broke the man's fingers backwards. There was another crisp click sound. Actually, even if you don't tell me, I know who sent you. He chuckled and broke 2 more fingers of the man on the ground like playing with a toy. It seems that even with the warning just now, my beloved deputy leader still won't give up. Is she really so loyal to Leader Zhongli? The 5 fingers of the man on the ground were all twisted and drooped limply on the back of his hand. He let go of the man's hand like throwing away garbage, letting the man's already horrible broken hand fall heavily to the ground. The man's screams on the ground have gradually become weaker. But even so, he still exudes evil energy uncontrollably, and he is still defending himself. Holy Son, spare me. I was sent by the deputy leader to protect you. The black-robed man sneered disdainfully. Protect me. He stepped hard and easily broke the man's lumbar vertebrae, then kicked him away. She is really a bunch of lies. Go back and tell her not to play such tricks to provoke me. The black-robed man stretched out his palm, and the man who was like a dead body on the ground and was already in so much pain that he couldn't move, unexpectedly flew up like a miracle. Then the space twisted and directly crushed and folded all his limbs. Blood and flesh flew everywhere, but strangely stopped in the air without splashing on the ground. Tang Wu Tuang and Nana, who were wearing camouflage makeup on their faces, saw this scene and couldn't control themselves and retched. Even Hou Hao and He Tao were pale at this time. But what frightened them even more was that the black-robed man with a cruel face like a devil from hell not far away had slowly turned around and looked at the 4 of them. The 4 of them suddenly felt cold, and a strong sense of crisis instantly enveloped them. The black-robed man waved his hand gently, and the body behind him that was screaming and begging for death, along with the flesh and blood in the air around him, suddenly disappeared in the silver light. His figure paused. He walked slowly step by step. Hou Hao's mind suddenly sounded alarm bells. But he still used mental sharing to tell his companions beside him not to act rashly. The black-robed man gradually approached. The dull sound of his boots hitting the ground became clearer and clearer, like an ancient bell that struck their hearts again and again, making them feel more depressed. The black robe fluttered behind him, raising a breeze with a slightly bloody and murderous smell. But inexplicably, under that dangerous atmosphere, there seemed to be a kind of luxurious and cold musk-like cedar. However, it did not make Hou Hao and others feel much more relaxed. The black-robed man was almost in front of them, but he just walked slowly past them. The black robe fluttered, but he didn't even give them half a glance. Behind him, The dull sound of boots hitting the ground gradually faded away until it disappeared completely. The four of them breathed a sigh of relief, their backs already soaked with cold sweat. It was the masked man from that day. Tang Wutong didn't dare to turn around now, and whispered to the three people beside her. Hou Yuhao nodded, patted the back of her hand to comfort her, and said solemnly, "Such cruel means, it is indeed an evil soul master. But he is so powerful and his means are so treacherous. Fortunately, he doesn't seem to care that we witnessed him killing people with our own eyes, and has no interest in fighting with us, otherwise we may have to expose our identities tonight." He recalled the scenes just now, evil, powerful, fierce, and treating human life as worthless. This person may become their opponent in the arena in the future. If they meet in the arena, they must find a chance to deal with him. Hou Yuhao thought solemnly and said to his companions around him, "Let's go back quickly. It's not advisable to stay outside for too long. The movement just now may soon attract people." King's Hotel. In a room, Feng Ling had just finished bathing. When she came out, she saw that the darkness in the corner of the room suddenly deepened, and then a miserable body that looked like a human was vomited out. Looking at the face that was still open, it was the person she sent to follow after the Holy Sun left the hotel. As expected, he was discovered and brutally killed. Now he sent the body back specially to warn her. She curled her lips and waved her hand casually. The flame of the evil phoenix flew out and burned the body to ashes. I don't know if this holy son of the demon tiger can still be as arrogant and rampant as he is now when the last holy son is found and the method of the leader's godhood is complete. In the third round of eliminations, the Tang sect was a bit unlucky and drew the Sun and Moon Royal Soul Instructor Academy. After repeated consideration, they decided to give up this battle and preserve their strength as much as possible. After all, although it is an elimination match, the promotion of this competition still depends on points. With Hou Yuhao's record of defeating 7 in the first round, even if they give up this round of eliminations, they can still enter the round robin smoothly, but their ranking will be relatively low. The third round of the Shrek Academy elimination match went on as normal. Daiyun still did not play. It was still Wen Qing'er who led the people yesterday and won with the same tactics. After the elimination match, all teams had one day to rest before the round-robin match. Every night, Hou Yuhao and He Keita would still go to the Mingdu Soul Instructor Elite competition, but after the encounter with a fierce black-robed man that day, they acted more cautiously. In general, both the daytime and nighttime competitions were smooth and safe. As a result, this good luck did not stay for long for the Tang sect, and was severely beaten by the result of the round-robin draw. Mingyu Hotel, in the room belonging to the Shrek team on the top floor. Zhang Lexuan, the senior sister of the inner courtyard who came to Mingdu as one of the team leaders, had a rather strange look on her face at this time. "We are actually in the same group with the Tang sect and the Sun Moon Royal Soul Instructor Academy. The first round of the round-robin match is between the Tang sect and the Sun Moon Royal Soul Instructor Academy. Do you think they will give up again?" Zhang Lexuan asked. The dog author would like to call these two chapters Testing the Bottom Line of the Reviewer on the Edge of Death, Cyrillic letter Z. Chapter 671 The Law of Life and Death. As the captain and vice-captain of the team, and the two people who knew the plot, Daiyun and Wang Qing'er looked at each other. They will not give up this game, because they are definitely planning to qualify with us. Otherwise, they will meet us in a certain game in the future, and we must decide the winner with them, Daiyun said. Take everyone to watch the game. This battle is still very important. It just so happens that everyone can see the strength of the Sun Moon Royal Soul Instructor team first. Wang Qing'er didn't say anything, but nodded in agreement. After all, as far as she knew, the Shrek team would definitely meet the Sun Moon Royal Soul Instructor team later. It's good to go and see their strength in advance today. Knowing yourself and the enemy is not a bad thing. Zhang Lexuan sighed lightly. You just know it in your heart, and I won't interfere with you too much. I'll go to the Tang sect to see the situation. When the time comes, you two can lead them to watch the game. Daiyun nodded. Okay. The round-robin match started as scheduled. When the referee asked the Tang sect and the Sun Moon team to send people to the field, warm cheers rang out around the stadium. After all, the Sun Moon Royal Soul Instructor Academy is the top brand of the Sun Moon Empire, and it is natural for the people of the Sun Moon Empire to be excited. The Tang sect sent Tang Wutong, who was dressed in men's clothes, and the Sun Moon team sent a Soul King named Shizing. There was no suspense in the Soul Emperor versus Soul King. In addition, Tang Wutuang was extremely excellent, and her own martial soul was once again strengthened and upgraded by the soul bone attached to the wings of the goddess of light, deity, so she didn't consume much at all, and easily won the first victory. However, she did not secretly kill Shizing with the light devil breaker as in the original work, but accurately controlled her attack strength to make Shizing fall into a coma that could not be awakened by any means temporarily. This was a particularly interesting method that Tang Liu had taught her during the years he took care of her. Her uncle told her that light can essentially be regarded as a wave. As long as she can accurately control the fluctuations of light, she can easily affect people's brain waves, and even use mental power to directly attack the nerve center of the human brain, like Hao. As long as the degree is mastered, it can be done like this now, making a person unable to wake up for a long time. Because in their own brains, such a coma is normal and must be experienced. When the influence she exerts gradually weakens, the brain will spontaneously adjust and wake people up from the coma. Without bloodshed, she did not cause anyone's death, but she also weakened the combat effectiveness of the Sun and Moon team. Looking at the unconscious Shizing being carried away by the Sun and Moon team, she recalled the words her uncle said when he taught her this method. Whenever you want to kill someone, think twice before you act. If it is a guy who is really bad to the core, if he attacks you, it doesn't matter if you take his life. But how many real bad people are there in this world? So every time before you make a heavy move, give yourself some time and ask yourself whether the person standing opposite you really deserves to die, whether there is someone behind him who cares about him as much as your parents care about you, and whether his death will also have close friends who will grieve for him. After thinking about it carefully, look at him again and ask if the idea of killing him is still there. At that time, she asked, if he is a person who should not die, and his parents and friends care about him, and he is even a very good person among the people around him, but he wants to kill me? What should I do? The uncle gently rubbed her head, and his handsome face smiled, even the world was eclipsed. So I want to teach you these now, so that you can be strong enough to protect yourself, no matter what situation you face, you can handle it with ease, and give yourself a chance to ask yourself. You are about to become an adult, and you must understand these principles. No matter when, you must put respect for life first. Of course, protecting yourself is the most important thing. No matter how good the person standing opposite you is, or even how close you are to him, as long as he wants to harm you and threaten your safety, don't hold back, and fight back until he can't move. The scenes at that time were still reflected in front of her eyes, and the words of the blue-haired young man were also echoing in her ears. Her beautiful pink blue eyes were full of clarity. It is not easy for every living being to come to the world, and survival is everyone's innate right. No one can deprive others of the right to live at will. So she would follow her uncle's advice. After learning to respect every life, it was like watching butterflies dancing in the bitter world. They were gorgeous and dazzling, just like the blazing light. But everyone was one of the dancing butterflies. So if someone wanted to deprive her of the right to flap her wings and fly high, she would not sit still and wait for death. She would do everything she could to protect herself. The second game began. Tang Wutong won easily again. But she didn't expect that her second opponent would sneak attack her after the referee announced the end of the game. When countless soul guide rays attacked her defenseless back, her gorgeous pair of light goddess butterfly wings opened by themselves and emitted a brilliant light. After that, her figure became illusory, and at that moment it was as if she had left this world. Those potentially fatal soul guide rays all passed through her body and shot into the distance without causing any harm to her. Hao's reminder of spirit sharing came when the members of the Sun and Moon team made some moves, but Tang Wutuang did not make any special defensive moves. Because the wings of the goddess of light butterfly have soul bones attached to them, and soul skills attached, Goddess Helena's blessing. The effect is to automatically avoid and be immune to fatal attacks. Tang Wutong's face showed an irrepressible joy, and she even wanted to put her hands on her hips and laugh. Her uncle is awesome. When the second contestant of the Sun and Moon team suddenly attacked and injured people after the referee announced the end of the game, many people from the Tang sect and Shrek Academy stood up at the same time. But there was a light that was faster than their movements. The young man in the wheelchair opened a pair of gray-green eyes on his forehead. It was strange that when staring at that eye, while feeling the rich vitality, he could also sense an equally dead power. When the vertical eye opened, a strange gray-green light fell from the sky and hit the member of the Sun and Moon team who suddenly attacked and injured people. It ignored his soul guide shield, invincible shield, and even the defense of the soul power itself. Just like that, quietly, his life came to an end. When the gray-green light disappeared, the man's body also fell to the ground, completely lifeless. No one can deprive others of their right to life at will. But the rules of heaven and earth that created all living beings can. In the face of the laws of life and death, there is true equality. The content of this chapter is in date 666 Doge. Chapter 672 Rebirth. When the gray-green light descended on the field, Dai Yun's and Wang Qiuer's bodies were slightly shaken, and they felt some kind of induction. At the same time, they looked at the forehead of the young man in the wheelchair not far away. At that moment, a kind of talent that was close to the same level as theirs suddenly appeared. And the source of that power was the vertical eye on the forehead of the young man that was slowly closing. The vertical eye was green all over, only the eyeball was gray, and the light it emitted was quite strong, so the vertical eye looked gray-green as a whole. They both looked a little surprised. After all, they all knew that what Hou Hao had now was actually the Eye of Life, opened up by the Gold of Life. But they didn't expect that even the Eye of Life could have such great power. Because Hou Hao suddenly attacked and killed the people of the Sun and Moon team, now everyone in the Sun and Moon Royal Soul Instructor Academy released their martial spirits and spirit rings, and they were about to rush up to fight. Seeing this, the Tang sect members would not sit still and wait for death. They also released their martial spirits and spirit rings to prepare for defense and counterattack. Just when the atmosphere between the two sides was tense, a figure descended from the sky. It was Tang San, the chief referee of this competition, who came to preside over justice. Chief Judge Zheng, we need an explanation. Accompanied by Nana, Jing Zidian and Ji Juchen, the young man in the wheelchair also came to the competition stage, all the way to Tang Wutong, who was protected by Su Sanchi and others, and said coldly to Tang San. As the captain of the Tang sect team, Bibai also said in a deep voice, I hope you can give us a reasonable explanation. When everyone on the stage was arguing, Dai Yun's and Wang Qiuer still sat in their original positions and asked others not to act rashly and just wait for the result. Wang Qiuer looked at the stern-looking young man in the wheelchair and whispered to Dai Yun's beside him, what do you think of that attack just now? Dai Yun's shook his head and said, I don't know too much. He only had some simple guesses in his mind now, but he was not sure. If Electrolux was by his side, he could ask the person who opened the Eye of Life for Hou Hao. Unfortunately, Electrolux had been on King Gaia, studying the ultimate evil with King Gaia, so he had no way to ask. However, he could see that Hou Hao's attack just now should have carried some kind of judgment and judgment power. In other words, at that moment, the person hit by the gray-green light was sentenced to death, which is why he lost his life so quickly. If it is your fate judgment, can you do this? Dai Yun suddenly asked. Wang Qiuer lowered her voice, it can be. But the previous blow was completely different from the fate judgment. That person did not die suddenly because his fate was cut off, but she suddenly felt a little at a loss for words, not knowing how to describe the feeling. It's like losing all vitality naturally and dying of old age, right? Dai Yun said. Yes, Wang Qiuer nodded. Dai Yun's thought about it, and then for some reason, the word life has ended suddenly came into his mind inexplicably. He looked a little weird. Is that so? After mediation, Tang San announced that it was the Sun Moon team who had injured someone first, so that person deserved to die. However, since the Sun Moon team members had already paid the price of their lives, the Tang sect should not pursue the matter any further. At the same time, he allowed Tang Wutong to rest for a while before continuing the game. Although it was not the result Hou Hao wanted most, this was the Sun Moon Empire after all, so they should accept this ruling. However, Hou Hao did not intend to let Tang Wutong continue to play, and decided to let Ek Tao play second. However, when he was calling for the Tang sect to leave, Tang Wutong suddenly said wait. She sighed lightly, facing the corpse that had been carried off the field by the Sun Moon team. Her left and right palms were crossed horizontally and vertically, and the right palm was inserted into the gap between the index and middle fingers of the left hand, and the index finger of the left hand passed through the gap between the index and middle fingers of the right hand. In this way, a very strange gesture came out. This action only lasted for a short moment, and she put her palms together. After doing all this, she turned around and smiled slightly, and walked off the field with the Tang sect Wutong. What were you doing just now? Xiao asked curiously. Tang Wutong smiled mysteriously. It's my secret, She was busy dealing with the curious girls and didn't notice that Hou Hao was looking at her with a very strange look. Because at the moment when Tang Wutong made that strange gesture, as a necromancer, he clearly felt that a soul had dissipated. It was as if he used the purifying fire on the soul. What happened? When did Wutong have such a method? You felt it? Wang Qiao looked at Tang Wutong with a smile in the distance and said. Dai Yun's replied, yes, I saw it. Unlike Wang Qiao, who only had a sense in the dark, he could see the soul directly with his naked eyes. So naturally, he also took in the whole process of Tang Wutong's salvation of the soul of the Sun and Moon team member. Wang Qiao recalled the scene just now. Tang Wutong looked compassionate and solemn, as if she didn't care about the object of her pity at all. She had planned to kill her not long ago. What kind of power is that? She didn't quite understand it, but the girl's expression at that moment still made her feel solemn. Dai Yun's didn't know much either, so he could only guess. It should be some kind of purification like salvation method. Do you know what salvation is? Wang Qiao nodded gently. This knowledge was in her memory from Dai Yun's, so she could simply understand the meaning of this word. If there really is a God in the world, it should be like Tang Wutong at that moment. Compassionate to all living things, loving all things. So, in the eyes of such a being, are there no differences between soul beasts and humans? Are they truly treated equally? Dai Yun's was not the only one who witnessed Tang Wutong's salvation of the souls of the Sun and Moon team members. Hou Hao was of course one of them. But in addition to him, Zhang Liu, who was sitting next to Su Xianren, the regent of the Sun and Moon Empire, in the stands, also saw that scene. His grip on the chair suddenly tightened. Someone actually has a way to make the soul dissipate directly. This kind of person is definitely the natural nemesis of the evil soul master, and he must not be left alive. Under the black robe, his eyes were already flashing with strong murderous intent. But he might not know that the person he was targeting was someone he could never afford to offend. The game continued. Under Hou Hao's arrangement, Tang Wutong of the Tang sect gave up the game and replaced it with He Tao. He Tao also showed his power on the field, showing the strength of a 7th-level soul master. Zhang Zan also misjudged the situation, and because He Tao did not hold back, the second death occurred in the Sun and Moon team. Hou Hao looked at his second brother on the field with a look of surprise, and noticed that Tang Wutong beside him sighed slightly and made that special gesture again, facing the direction of the Sun and Moon team member whose life had been cut off on the stage. Chapter 673, the first round of the round robin concludes. As expected, he saw the soul of the Sun Moon team member disappear again. Although he looked a little unwilling, he did not resist, but bowed slightly to Tang Wutong. This time, Hou Hao could not help it, and whispered to Tang Wutong, Wutong, who taught you this gesture? Tang Wutong felt like she was caught doing something bad secretly, but when she thought of the instructions of her teacher and knew what a solemn and meaningful thing she was doing, the embarrassment disappeared. She also whispered back, a good friend of mine taught me. At that time, he told me a ghost story to scare me, and then taught me this gesture, telling me that this gesture is to hope that the deceased can be reborn in peace. No matter how big the hatred between the Sun Moon team and us is, the dead are the greatest, the dead are the greatest. These 4 simple words made Hou Hao think a lot. He couldn't help but hold Tang Wutong's hand and said with a smile, my Wutong is really a kind-hearted girl. Tang Wutong's pretty face turned red. Go away, who is yours? Hou Hao looked at her shy appearance and couldn't help laughing. Then, he sighed softly, as if he had made up his mind, and shouted to the competition venue, Tangman gives up the next individual elimination match. Everyone in the Tangman was stunned by his sudden decision. Even He Tao, who was ready for the next battle on the stage, was a little puzzled and frowned. However, no one raised any objections and listened to Hou Hao's arrangements. Although Bibi was the captain, before today's game, all of them had decided to hand over the full power to Hou Hao to command, giving the strongest trust to this junior brother. Because Tangman gave up the individual elimination match, this battle with the Sun Moon Royal Soul Instructor Academy directly entered the team match. What everyone in the Tangman didn't expect was that Xiao Hongchen actually gave up the team match on his own initiative and chose to admit defeat to preserve his strength. Looking at the expression on his face, he was very unwilling. He must have made a great determination to admit defeat. After hearing Xiao Hongchen's voice, Dai Yun's slightly hanging heart finally relaxed. He said to the others, it's over. Next, we will deal with our game well. The team remains unchanged and is still led by Wang Qiao, In any case, it is worry-free if everything goes according to the plot. The duel between the Shrek 7 Devils and the Sun and Moon team has come to an end. The next time we see them, it should be the match between Shrek and the Sun and Moon Royal Soul Instructor Academy. After defeating the Sun and Moon team and the Shrek team easily passing the first round of the round-robin tournament, the Tang sect does not have too many things to worry about. At night, Decay and Hou Hao still transformed into Tang Si and Tang Wu to participate in the Mingdu Soul Instructor Elite Competition. Tonight is the second round of the competition. The rules are still to hand in the soul guides of the corresponding level within a limited time. The organizers have arranged a lot of gambling games based on this, and the odds are determined according to the time when the soul guides submit the soul guides. The odds range from high to low, and are divided into half an hour to 1 hour. Hou Hao thought about his and Hiketao's strength, and after observing for the past few days, he did not think there were too many soul masters with excellent talents in Zishu League. So in order to be safe and hide his strength, he chose the second tier of betting. As a result, just when he was about to let people place bets, a few people gradually came over not far away. The leader was very familiar, because the man was wearing a ferocious black mask. The moment they saw the familiar figure, the 4 people of Tang sect became nervous at the same time, especially when the guy led a group of people to approach them. Hou Hao couldn't help but wonder if their identities had been exposed. As a result, the black-robed man just walked past them with the people behind him, without even looking at them. Hou Hao couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, but suddenly heard a conversation coming from the group of people who had just passed by. Since you two have the ranking engraving knives in your hands, you must perform well in the competition later and don't let down. Otherwise, yes, Your Highness the Saint Sun, ranking engraving knife? Hou Hao was stunned for a moment because of the news he heard by chance, and then, as if he suddenly realized something, he hurriedly said to Hiketao, second brother, the plan has changed. The bet is now that someone will submit a soul guide within half an hour. Hiketao didn't understand what he meant for a moment. Do you want us to go full speed to make soul guides and submit them before half an hour? No. Hou Hao shook his head, looked at the backs of the group of people who had already gone away, and said, we will still hide our strength for the time being and control the speed to within half an hour to 1 hour. In today's competition, there may be a strong opponent who can finish the game within half an hour, I understand. On the very secret stands, a fierce-looking man in black robes stood alone, hiding his figure in the darkness, silently watching the young man sitting in a wheelchair below, who was skillfully making soul guides. The news that one of the contestants has a ranking knife has been spread. I believe he can react immediately and make the right choice. But he didn't expect that the only thing he can do now is to help him not lose money. He crossed his arms, shook his head and sneered. However, what Tang Si and Tang Wu said, this ability to come up with names is quite good. I just don't know if that guy is nearby, and what he will think when he hears these two names. I really want to ask that guy in person how it feels to be taken advantage of by others. But if Tang Wutong is also there, assuming that she knows that guy, then she should be the first one to find it weird and funny. But she doesn't look abnormal. He set his eyes on the young man in the wheelchair below, and tapped his arm lightly with his fingertips, as if thinking about something. This Mingdu Soul Instructor Elite Competition was the first time that Hou Hao's undead magic was displayed in front of the Holy Spirit Church. He was also the last Holy Sun that Zhongli Wu was looking for. If the two saints and the Saint Sun are all here, and the method of becoming a god is true, Zhongli Wu will definitely take action. I just don't know where the danger of this so-called method of becoming a god lies. That guy told him to be careful not to overturn, which was to tell him how dangerous this method is for them. But it shouldn't be life-threatening. Should it? In the second round of the round-robin tournament, the Tang sect faced off against the Mingyu sect, and Shrek competed with an academy from the Dowling Empire. However, the Mingyu sect is Shrek's opponent in the next round of the round-robin tournament. The Tang sect originally wanted to take this opportunity to reduce the strength of the Mingyu sect and clear the way for Shrek. But when Hou Hao thought of the young man who had not appeared, he smiled and pouted, and said helplessly, forget it, we just play normally. Maybe our worries for them are in vain, and we may need them to help us solve some more difficult opponents. Thank you for the friends who voted for the recommendation and monthly tickets. Thank you for your support. The dog author will continue to work hard to update. Doge, see you tomorrow. I expect that I will only write about 1 or 2 serious battles in the competition. And then I will end this part. Thumbs up emoji JPG. Chapter 674, Xiao Jingxun's attack. In this way, the match between Tang sect and Mingyu sect started normally, but the first person to be sent out was not Tang Wutong, who was the same as in the original novel. It was Jiang Nanan. Even though she was only a 5-rank cultivator now, in a one-on-one fight, even Bibai, Su Sanchi, and Tang Wutong, who were already Soul Emperors, were no match for her. Every soul skill of Jiang Nanan gave her unparalleled dominance in close combat, and she was almost invincible in close combat. Moreover, her invincible golden body happened to be the nemesis of the vampire bat martial spirit owner of Mingyu sect. She easily defeated 3 people from Mingyu sect by herself, and finally even kicked the Soul Emperor who could use the Soul Guide to display the pseudo-martial spirit true body off the competition venue, and then walked off the competition venue and replaced Xiao Xiao. After winning 4 games in a row in the individual elimination match, Tang sect can be said to have actually won the round-robin match, and Xiao Xiao also won 2 games in a row after coming on the court. Tangmin won 6 games in total. If Mingyu sect still wanted to turn the tables, the only way was for the last contestant to defeat all the remaining Tangmin members, or for Tangmin to give up the individual elimination match and move the match into the team match. But it was obvious that Tangmin would not let the match go to the team match, and the last Mingyu sect member to fight, who was also the captain of their team, did not choose to continue fighting, and told the referee that Mingyu sect had given up. Hou Hao looked at the somewhat mysterious captain of Mingyu sect and secretly felt a little sorry that he could not let the Shrek people see her specific strength. However, seeing that Shrek had all stood up and walked out of the competition venue, he immediately called the Tangmin members to leave. Perhaps, they actually did not need to know how strong their opponents were. But it was also good that he could focus on the Mingdu Soul Instructor Elite competition in the evening. From today on, the Soul Instructor competition will also include actual combat. The third round of the round-robin competition arrived as scheduled, with Shrek facing Mingyu sect. Just like Shrek never missed any battle of Tang sect, when it was Shrek's turn to compete, everyone from Tang sect naturally came to watch. They were discussing whether Shrek would continue to use the previous tactics, when they saw that after the referee announced the entry of both parties, a figure that they had never expected jumped onto the Shrek battle area. Xiao Jingxun. Su Sanchi was confused at the time. Are they going to give up this game? Hou Hao was also quite puzzled. Although not every team in the competition was like them, all of them were above the Soul King realm. For most participating teams, Soul sects were still the most numerous Soul Masters in the team. But Mingyu sect had Soul Kings and Soul Emperors. It was true that Xiao Jingxun's martial soul was extremely special, but it was more reflected in the control function in team battles. In a one-on-one match, could he really win? On the stage, the competition had officially begun, and the first person to come on stage from Mingyu sect was the Soul King with a vampire bat martial soul. It was Xiao Jingxun's first time to play in an individual elimination match, and it was also the first time to play first. So he was inevitably a little nervous. However, he still looked quite calm, and did not show any fear because his opponent had 1 more soul ring than him. The member of the Mingyu sect who possessed the vampire bat martial spirit was called Ad. The 5 soul rings with the best ratio on his body shone, and the bat wings on his back fluttered, and the whole person quickly flew towards Xiao Jingxun. The 4th soul ring on his body flashed, and the soul skill that could bring back the essence in the enemy's blood and feed back to himself was used at the first time. It might be because the 4 soul rings on Xiao Jingxun's body were too confusing, making him think that this soul skill could make Xiao Jingxun lose the game. In the last battle with the Tang sect, Jiang Nanan defeated him because he had the invincible golden body and was completely immune to the blood-sucking ability of his soul skill. Although he was facing the famous Shrek today, Ad did not believe that this soul sect could also use an invincible golden body soul skill. Facing Ad's 4th soul skill of sucking blood, Xiao Jingxun still stood still, his martial soul time clock quietly suspended in his open palm. None of the 4 soul rings of 2 yellow and 2 purple lit up, as if he had completely forgotten to fight back. Off stage, the Tang sect members who were nervously watching all this tightly grasped the armrests of their chairs, and Hou Hao frequently cast his eyes on the young man in the Shrek rest area. What are you planning? In the blink of an eye, the blood-colored figure formed by Ad's 4th soul skill came in front of Xiao Jingxun. But when the blood-colored figure was about to invade Xiao Jingxun's body, he had not moved, and his soul rings flashed one after another, He himself has a soul skill of time lock, which can lock the time of the target and control the locked object for at least 1 second. In addition, his strongest soul skill now is a soul skill that can make time within a certain range flow back for 1 second. The single time is still, and the range time is reversed. Even if it is only for a short second, it is enough to prove the power of his martial soul. After all, even Daiyuns couldn't do time reversal on a large scale before. The time reversal acted on his body at the moment when the blood shadow just invaded his body, and suddenly, his state instantly returned to the state before the blood shadow invaded. And it was only the reversal of his own state, so the blood shadow was not reversed with time. In this way, Xiao Jingxun easily resolved Ad's attack without consuming himself. In addition, the moment when the blood shadow invaded was also the moment when Ad was most relaxed, so Xiao Jingxun's time lock also hit successfully. Ad in the air maintained an incredible look, and after his own time was suspended, he fell uncontrollably. Xiao Jingxun had already taken out his melee soul guide device without panic, walked to the place where Ad fell, and put the sharp tip of the knife against his fragile throat. With just a little more force, his soul guide weapon could pierce into Ad's throat and easily take his life. The pause effect of the time lock was over, but the referee also announced Xiao Jingxun's victory. Ada stood on the stage, looking blankly at Xiao Jingxun, who was smiling at him friendly not far away, not understanding how he lost. After witnessing the whole process of the game, Hao finally figured out why Shrek sent Xiao Jingxun to participate in the battle first. It was probably to deal with the vampire bat soul master of Mingyu sect, or to be more precise, it was to deal with Ada's blood-sucking soul skill. That weird blood-sucking soul skill, if there is no soul skill like Zhang Nanin's invincible golden body, it is indeed not easy to resist. However, with Shrek's strength, it is not impossible to fight quickly. In this case, Xiao Jingxun was sent out to prevent others from being consumed and to further hide their strength. However, doing so would be too confident. Are you really not afraid of accidentally turning over? Moreover, if it was not Ada who came on the field at the beginning, but other people from Mingyu sect, or even their captain who had not taken action so far? How should Xiao Jingxun deal with it? Chapter 675 Xiao Jingxun's highlight moment. Hao's expression suddenly became condensed when he looked back at the competition venue. It seemed that he would soon see how Xiao Jingxun would respond. Because the mysterious captain of Mingyu sect jumped onto the competition venue from the waiting area. Hao observed that Xiao Jingxun looked a little excited, as if he was very excited because the captain of Mingyu sect was on the field. His expression suddenly became a little strange. Could it be that Xiao Jingxun's real target was the captain of Mingyu sect? Although this guess was not very reliable, Hao inexplicably felt that it was very likely. In this case, what kind of confidence did he have in Xiao Jingxun? Because the captain of Mingyu sect, conservatively, also had the cultivation of Soul Emperor, how could Xiao Jingxun overcome the gap of 2 soul rings to defeat his opponent? The game had already begun. The captain of Mingyu sect was named Kane. When she released her soul ring and rushed towards Xiao Jingxun, everyone in the Tang sect finally saw what her martial soul was. It turned out to be an extremely powerful, even legendary top martial soul, the Dark Gold 3-Headed Bat King. The Dark Gold 3-Headed Bat King of the 6-ring Soul Emperor level. Can Xiao Jingxun, who is only a soul sect, have a chance? Everyone in the Tang sect suddenly became nervous again. Kane was extremely fast. After the referee announced the start of the game, he rushed to Xiao Jingxun in almost a blink of an eye. So fast that Xiao Jingxun's reaction time had long exceeded it. When he was horrified, he was knocked out by Kane's right hand that scratched blood in the air. The game seemed to be over. But a shocking scene happened immediately afterwards. A strange light flashed, and Xiao Jingxun, who was flying backwards in the air, stood back to the original place in an instant. No one could even see how he stopped himself from flying backwards and how he returned to the position before being knocked back. Not only did everyone in the Tang sect look surprised at this time, but Kane, one of the parties involved, was even more puzzled. But she didn't care at first, and still lightly grabbed and swung, knocking Xiao Jingxun away again. As a result, there was another flash of light, and Xiao Jingxun returned to the original place again. He smiled at her in a mean way. "Big sister, you are wasting your energy." Kane snorted coldly, his temperament suddenly turned cold, and he waved his hand again to knock Xiao Jingxun away. But it didn't work at all. After the light flashed, Xiao Jingxun was still standing there intact. After repeating this several times, he was still like nothing happened, but Cain began to breathe slightly. She gritted her teeth and continued to attack, and then Xiao Jingxun came back intact again. Big sister, listen to my advice. This competition is difficult, you can't grasp it, you might as well admit defeat quickly, Cain yelled angrily. Shut up. At the same time, the soul skill with mental control spread out along with the scream, making Xiao Jingxun's mind sluggish, and she also shot Xiao Jingxun again. As a result, the familiar light flashed again, and Xiao Jingxun came back intact, and even the negative effect of the sluggish mind on his body was lifted. Big sister, don't you give up, he still smiled in a mean way. Cain grabbed his neck and carried him to the edge of the competition stage. It seemed that his strange ability to rewind time would be triggered automatically when he was hurt, regardless of whether he was conscious or not. In this case, why didn't she attack him and just throw him off the competition stage? The idea was good, but when Xiao Jingxun was only about 5 meters away from the edge of the venue, the familiar light flashed again, and Xiao Jingxun, who was tightly held in Cain's hand, disappeared again. Looking back, the guy was indeed standing there and smiling at her. You should give up now, right? Cain was instantly furious. Damn, how should I fight this? Attacking will trigger time rewinding, and leaving the edge of the venue will also trigger time rewinding. There is no solution to this. She was instantly furious. Do you dare to fight me in an upright manner? Don't use these little tricks. If she continued to entangle like this, she would definitely lose because she was the first to exhaust her soul power. How could she be willing to accept this? But she didn't expect Xiao Jingxun to agree. After all, there was a huge gap between their strengths. She didn't believe that Xiao Jingxun would give up his great advantage to fight her. As a result, Xiao Jingxun, who was still smiling frivolously the last second, suddenly became serious after hearing what she said. Okay, then I'll fight you fair and square. Cain was stunned for a moment, and just as he was about to ask if you were mentally ill, he saw Xiao Jingxun's figure suddenly disappear. At that moment, a deadly sense of crisis that made her scalp numb enveloped her whole body. She didn't hesitate and instantly used her strongest life-saving soul skill. Her figure instantly scattered into countless dark golden little bats, flying around the competition stage and leaving the previous position at full speed. But at this moment, an even more shocking scene appeared. Countless knife shadows appeared on the competition field in an instant, and each one accurately chopped at a dark golden little bat, and even chopped at the same time. In just a moment, all the dark gold bats on the field exploded and disappeared under the shadow of the knife, forcing Cain's body out. She looked pale, and couldn't believe that all her clones were destroyed in that instant. Before she could continue to move, countless time locks fell on her at the same time, and she was superimposed with an unimaginable length of static time. Xiao Jingxun suddenly appeared in front of Cain again, raised his melee soul guide and stabbed Cain's throat. Just like he eliminated Ad, he also eliminated the captain of Mingyu sector. However, his hand holding the knife was trembling slightly, and the whole person was panting violently, as if he was suddenly punished by Zhou Yi to run hundreds of laps. The referee was so scared that he hurried over to move his knife away, fearing that he would lose control and pierce Cain's throat. The time lock's confinement time was over. Cain regained his thinking and ability to move, and at the same time heard the referee announce that Xiao Jingxun won. Lost? Why? Her confusion and shock were just like her brother Ad. But before she could ask, Xiao Jingxun had already jumped off the stage with shaking legs. It was obvious that Shrek was going to change players. Xiao Jingxun, who came off the stage, was warmly welcomed by Zhou Sichen and other disciples from the outer courtyard reserve team. His good friend Zhou Sichen directly grabbed Xiao Jingxun's arms and shook them hard. Lao Xiao, Lao Xiao. That's a soul emperor, a soul emperor. You actually defeated her, Xiao Jingxun suppressed the smug expression on his face. Calm down, but the next second he couldn't help it. Oh my god, I actually beat the soul emperor, it's so terrifying. Am I going to become a legend in our college? Then his legs suddenly went weak and he fell on Zhou Sichen. Zhou Sichen was stunned and quickly helped him up. Oh my god, you won't be so excited about defeating the soul emperor that you throw yourself into my arms, right? Then, are you going to take advantage of this great atmosphere to confess to me? Let me make it clear first, although this atmosphere makes me a little bit moved, there is no possibility for us, you can. Cyrillic letter Z. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.